Why am I live right now? What the heck did I do? Did I break it? Did I ruin something? Okay, the stream's not supposed to be started yet. I don't know what it's doing. And now I think I messed something up. Okay. Hopefully everything works when he tries to get in here cuz I'm like I'm like, you can hear me right now? What the heck did I do? Connected the streams and then I started a stream, but did I start it for his channel too? Because I'm like a mod on his StreamYard, and maybe since I'm connected to his StreamYard, it started the stream. No, it still says upcoming. Why did my stream start?
I did not type yet. Oops. But we got to set the mood anyways. Hear the sound of reason's call, echoing through mind and hall. In the temple of thought we rise, truth of flame and light our eyes. Shadows tremble, doubt undone. By word and will we stand as one. Clash we now our swords of reason, cut through lies, through mind's dark season. Clash we now our truth's bright flame. Reason's call shall bear no shame. Voices rising, calm and storm. Faith in thought, our truest form. Steel of logic, heart of fire. Bound by will, we shall not tire. Flash we now our swords of reason, cut through life, through mind's dark season. Flash we now our truth's bright flame. Reason's call shall bear no shame. Let the echoes guard the dawn. Thought and courage carried on. Okay. Sorry, guys. I just had to. Look at that. I still got 5 minutes to spare. See how good I work. See how fast I do that shit. I was writing. So you know how I don't know if you guys have noticed, but like in the Swords of Reason, I give each debater an introduction, and I just base it off like what I've seen their channel is about, and sometimes I'll add in something. Like yesterday with Planet Peterson, he had a book, so I decided to add in a little mention that he's also an author and has a book and stuff like that. So I like having like this little intro for each of them. So I was just writing that out right now. I did that pretty quick though. I did that pretty quick. You guys like that mood setter? Remember, Speak, he has $2. Yeah, I did fuck that up. And I did know he had $2. I fucked that up. But the book he's always promoting is the most recent one, right? His book is that he's promoting now is his most recent one. And I think it's kind of a cool idea for a book, like a cool concept. I haven't got the book. Maybe I should though. Cuz like just like old wives' tales and myths and like, so it's like myths or facts that aren't true or whatever. It's I like it. Not really someone who has ever chatted, but I love your argument and the debates. Keep up the good work. Not one step back. Not one step back, indeed. Thank you very much for the support. I appreciate that. Even just being here watching. I understand. My chat's a little crazy, right? Sometimes you probably look at this chat and say, I don't know if I want to duck in there. Understandable. I mean, we do got Fredo here, so he's security. Don't worry. JS's intro, Mormon adjacent, dinosaur enthusiast, MMA enjoyer. Thank you. All right, guys, we got 2 minutes. Are we not, men? What up? What up? We got 2 minutes, so I'm going to send you guys over to the other stream. Hey, there's one of the debaters right there. Look at that. But yeah, I'm going to send you guys over to that other stream and make sure to do a sound check with the boys and everything and get this debate started. All right? So I will see you on the other side. So, for now.
This is Sparta! Spartans! What is your profession?
So there's a number.
Did I screw something up?
Yep.
What?
I don't know. I connected to the StreamYard. You know how I connect my stream to the StreamYard?
Yeah.
And then I turned on my OBS and I hit, manage broadcast and start streaming, but you don't go live yet. You get it connected and then you go live on YouTube. And it made me go live automatically.
Okay.
I don't know. I thought I messed something up on your end because I'm like
no. What's gonna happen though is you'll end up having two.
Yeah, I had to restart.
Two going because when I start up, you'll have another one going, unless you want me to remove the one from here now so that you don't have two going.
Do I have? I think I deleted that one, so I shouldn't.
Oh, okay. We'll see then when it starts up. If it goes live, we can just remove it, or you can tell everyone to go to that one. However you want to do it.
So I love StreamYard. It's super basic, but it's so simple.
Yep. I was using OBS all the time to stream, but I figured I can just stream my whole OBS virtual camera to here and just do everything through the StreamYard. It made it easier for me.
So when I link the streams, I don't even need to open my OBS.
Yeah, you wouldn't even need to open OBS if you didn't want to. Yeah, unless you're using OBS virtual camera in here. But other than that, yeah, you wouldn't even need it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, like right now I have OBS open, but it's only for this, like for my background and everything. But everything else is StreamYard, yeah.
All right.
All right, so let me actually I want to do this. Oh, names.
I spent some time on my. I'm not an opening statement kind of guy, so I spent some time on it. I think it's pretty good.
All right. That's my favorite
Nice.
part.
Me too. Actually, that's my favorite part is writing the opening statements.
Why do you say that?
Well, because I tend to, I do like what I call the 8 Mile, right? I'll present all the other side's arguments and then criticize each one as I'm doing my opening statement, and I feel like it kind of leaves the other side with like, well, fuck, what do I say now? But
see if I can...
everyone has their own style for sure.
I just like writing, and it forces me to write.
That too.
Yeah, I haven't actually written out. I mean, I guess that's not true. I've rambled like a mofo on X sometimes. Like ever since they got rid of that, they went from 180 to like 240, and they were just like, go for it. I've filled up entire things, and I didn't even mean to.
Yeah, because you start writing something out, and then it ends up being way longer than you thought it was going to be.
Especially if I've been drinking a little bit. Just like, and another thing.
All right, let me make sure I got the timers all ready. All right, and you guys good with the format? 10-minute opening, 5-minute uninterrupted rebuttal, hour open floor, 5-minute closing, then the 30-minute Q&A. And then for the open panel, it's up to you if you want to stay. But people like when the debaters stay so they can come up and
show up for a couple hours.
Yeah. But it's totally up to you. You don't have to, right?
I can probably only stay for an hour of the open.
Right. Alrighty, so I'm gonna start this up. You know, the intro takes like 3 minutes with the disclaimer and intro, and then we'll get right into it.
I'm good.
Alrighty, good luck to both of you.
The information shared in these conversations and videos are intended for general knowledge and entertainment purposes only. It should not be considered as legal advice or professional guidance. Additionally, any documentation or references to specific content are solely for the purpose of discussion and understanding. It does not imply endorsement, promotion, or support of said content. The views expressed in these videos and/or conversation are those of the individuals involved and do not represent any official stance or opinion. The content you are about to experience may contain strong language, including explicit words and phrases. This language is used for artistic expression and may be integral to the storyline or character development. It is important to note that the use of such language does not endorse or promote offensive behavior. Viewer discretion is advised, and please enjoy the show responsibly. Disclaimer. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. The Canadian Copyright Act, Section 29, allows an individual to use copyright-protected materials when creating a new work such as a mashup and to post the new work online on a website like YouTube. Fair dealing provision for specific purposes like research, private study, education, parody, satire, criticism, review, and news reporting.
Step up, step up! Yeah! We pledge! We pledge! We pledge! We pledge! Yeah! Step in the arena, mind locked and loaded. Truth on my blade, every line's exploded. You swing your words, I counter with precision. Battle of reason, this is my mission. Raise your fist, let them know. No. Raise your voice, let it blow. Woo! We clash our swords of reason. Cut through like no retreating. Yeah. No fear, no chain, no treason. Woo. We clash our swords of reason. Woo. We clash our swords of reason. Cut through like no retreating. Yeah. No fear, no chain, no treason. Woo. We clash our swords of reason. Step back, I'm a scholar and a fighter. Every claim you throw, I strike tighter. Logic and power, I never fold. In the war of words, I'm solid gold. Raise your fist, let them know. Whoa. Raise your voice, let it blow. Woo. We clash our swords of reason. Cut through like no retreating. Yeah. No fear, no chain, no treason. Woo. We clash our swords of reason. We clash our swords of reason. Cut through like no retreating. Every thought a fortress, every claim a storm. We forge a truth where chaos takes form. Ideas ignite like lightning through the night. In the war of minds, we bring the light. Step in, feel the heat. Truth is my weapon, never beat. Raise them high, break the ceiling. With a fire, with a feeling. We clash our swords of reason. Cut through lies, no retreating. No fear, no chain, no treason. We clash our swords of reason. We clash our swords of reason. Cut through lies, no retreating. No fear, no chain, no treason. We clash our swords of reason. We clash our swords of reason. Cut through lies, no retreating. No fear, no chain, no treason. We clash our swords of reason.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Swords of Reason right here on the Speakeasy Show. This is where logic meets passion, okay? If you're new here, the format is simple. Each debater gets 10 minutes for opening statements, followed by a 5-minute uninterrupted rebuttal. Then we open the floor for a full hour of unfiltered debate before wrapping it up with a 5-minute closing statement from each side. After that, we'll spend 30 minutes answering your questions from the chat. I'll be putting a live Q&A in the chat for you to put questions there. But there's only 30 minutes at the end for this, and Super Chats will take priority for the questions and comments. Once the formal debate is done, we'll open the doors to the community for a chaos and chill panel where anyone can hop up, is done, challenge or question the debaters, question just the prompt in general, whatever. And that part is optional for both debaters, so they don't have to stay for this. Today's debate prompt is we should legalize prostitution. And now let's meet today's debaters. For the affirmative, we have the Indian Jesus, who has a channel right here on YouTube where he focuses on politics, truth, and morality, and says he is here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. And for the negative, we have JS Urban Adventures, who also has a channel here on YouTube where he focuses on religion, politics, hot topic discussions, UFC fight coverage, and spares a fair amount of time in the belly of the beasts attending these protests and riots to give you a first-hand look at reality. Debaters, you know the rules. Let's keep it sharp, smart, entertaining. You, Indian Jesus, are on the affirmative, so you'll go first for the opening statements. I want to say thank you both for being here. And whenever you're ready for your opening statement, I will start the clock up with your voice.
All right, I don't think I'm going to make it to the 10 minutes, but we'll see. So tonight, I will be arguing that the practice of prostitution should be legal. The most important thing I can stress tonight is that legality does not equal morality. This is not a debate about whether prostitutes are good or bad. It's about whether or not the practice should be prohibited by the government. Prostitution is undoubtedly a degenerate behavior by almost any metric worth listening to. But the debate is about how a free society should handle these issues. We should legalize it not because of virtue, but because prohibition is objectively more harmful than legalization with regulation. I am not arguing that anyone should just be able to sell their body at any time and manner, willy-nilly, full stop, as my opponent may or may not try to frame it. I am specifically saying that prohibiting this activity has shown, just like alcohol, just like cannabis, and just like guns, it does not work. And because of that, we should create the societal circumstances to make sure that it's done in the safest way possible. I believe the strengthening of the moral muscle is a strong factor, but really only another positive byproduct. In America, we shouldn't need the government to give us permission to make moral choices. We are not supposed to be entrusted to, we are supposed to be entrusted to govern ourselves. Laws, as we can see, do not erase desire. They only determine whether vice is experienced in the daylight with legal recourse or under the shadow of darkness on the black market. We can look at places like New Zealand, the Netherlands as examples of how this might play out in America. There's obviously different countries with different cultures and all that stuff, but given that it's illegal here, it's very difficult to get information like this in the U.S. But simply put, New Zealand saw much better health outcomes and less exploitation, and the Netherlands is almost famous for the safe work environments in this context. While I can, of course, source these things, I think throwing sources back and forth with each other is boring and unnecessary. I think there's plenty within the basic data and the concept of law and degeneracy and ethics and all that stuff that I believe that we can spend most of the debate actually debating our ideas instead of reading studies, but we do what we got to do. I anticipate that my opponent will use perhaps even these same countries to make the argument that we've seen a rise in sex trafficking when prostitution is legalized. And he'd be right. But this would be akin to the type of stats lefties use when they say that the right is more violent than the left. When we dig into what right-wing violence actually means in these studies, it's so broad, it simply doesn't reflect reality. Hopefully, we can all agree that a jihadist blowing themselves up or like a prison riot with skinheads is a completely different thing than what we mean when we typically say political violence. Similarly, if I live just outside a state and meet a working girl and I'm like, hey, I live 10 minutes from here, you want to come over? I'll make it worth your time. And she accepts, even with full consent. This is counted as an act of sex trafficking. So if the argument is going to be made, we must dig into the data to be able to parse out the more violent version of what comes to mind with girls being thrown into the back of the van and bags over the head and all that stuff. That is not the only version of what this means. And, you know, I mean, another aside, that's the whole lover boy method with Andrew Tate, love him or hate him. I didn't think that was considered sex trafficking, but it is. As many of you know, I am not a religious believer. Despite the respect I have for Christians individually, the role of Christianity in our society and culture, and even the ethical framework that it provides. Even though I have no idea whether a God exists, I do know that Christian ethics are certainly strong enough to prevent the average Christian man from going to a streetwalker just because the secular government says so. When the state polices every sin, people have no need to think about their own personal morality. They can just appeal to daddy government. Look at the precipitous drop in cigarette smokers over the last 20 years. That was not because of any kind of prohibition. It was because of cultural aspects like the truth ads. And you know, whether any one of these things were effective is not the point. The point is that we saw a dramatic decrease in the number of people that smoke cigarettes because it just stopped being cool. It started being shameful. Girls didn't want to date guys that were smoking, and because of that, society changed. And of course, people still smoke, but a lot less. Yeah, if we can. They say nicotine is one of the most addictive substances. And I mean, what we're talking about, maybe just a bit more addictive. But if we can do it for cigarettes, there's no reason it can't be done for any other unwanted behavior. Shame and taboo are tools that have gone vastly underused. And I think we can all see the correlation between that and the downfall of our culture. As a Christian, I'm sure JS will want to discuss his objective morality. Totally cool. I have an objective morality too, so that would be a non-starter unless he is claiming not only to have an objective morality, but an absolute morality, aka the only right one, in which case he would need to, at the very least, prove the existence of his God. And again, I'm happy to have that discussion, but I don't think it will get us anywhere in relation to the prompt. Again, the question isn't, is prostitution good, or should we celebrate it, or even should we shame it? The prompt is a legal one. Should it be legal? And I will show that my position is the correct one. JS likes to use a quote in his opening, and so in kind, I will too. As Benjamin Franklin famously said, they that can give up essential liberty to attain a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. If we outsource every moral decision to the state, we stop exercising our own moral judgment. The moral muscle atrophies. A society that can no longer argue or persuade privately will become brittle and authoritarian. Don't let the state become your consciousness. Say no to daddy government being the arbiter of morality. And I could save my time.
All righty.
pretty well.
Thank you for that opening statement. And with that, we'll hand it over to JS Urban Adventures for his opening statement. Again, I want to thank you both for being here. And a reminder for the chat, if you guys send in a super chat question during openings or closings, I don't highlight during the opening and closing just to avoid distractions. So if you're wondering, that's why. JS, whenever you're ready, I will start the timer up with your voice.
All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, my opponent will be attempting to argue for the legalization of prostitution. My job will be to negate this proposal. I intend to do so by demonstrating the utilitarian benefits that come from keeping prostitution illegal, from reducing harm to women and men involved in prostitution and bettering society overall. My opponent may appeal to freedoms being violated or a non-aggression principle in law enforcement. And my question for him will then be, is aggression ever justified by law enforcement? And if so, when? What level of harm must be done before a society is able to charge or arrest the person caught causing the harm? I would argue the amount of harm from prostitution to society justifies laws restricting the act and enforcement of said laws. And in my opening, I will proceed to lay out some of those harms. I will begin with the obvious harm to the women who are often unwillingly coerced, culturally or financially incentivized, or even trafficked, yes, into the sex work industry, specifically prostitution. I'll start with the negative mental harms caused to women in prostitution. The Chicago Alliance Against Sexual Exploitation states that 68% of prostitutes suffer depression, 55% report anxiety, and 33% report symptoms of PTSD. Then, of course, we know of the harms caused by STIs among female sex workers. The World Health Organization says women in prostitution are 30 times more likely to be living with HIV. 10.8% have syphilis, and increases in other STIs and viral hepatitis infections have been consistently documented. The majority of women involved in prostitution are marginalized women from poor, minority, or LGBTQ communities, and many are underage, a problem that is not quelled by legalization. The U.S. Department of Justice assessment of U.S. government activities to combat trafficking in persons shows that 70% of female trafficking victims are trafficked into legal commercial sex industries, including stripping, pornography, and legal brothels. Feminists who fight for partial decriminalization of prostitution, like Dr. Melissa Farley, claim 84% of women involved in prostitution are under third-party control or pimped, and they believe Johns should be criminalized rather than legalizing them using brothels. Author and co-founder of Justice for Women, Julie Bindel, is quoted saying, "Under legalized regimes such as Germany, the Netherlands, and Nevada, there are more murders and attempted murders by Johns and by pimps than there are in countries which have legalized demand." She agrees that through legalizing pimps through brothels and Johns to have their demand supplied, more women would be harmed. Even the most staunch feminists would not argue for full legalization. Most lean toward a Nordic or equality model of decriminalizing the women but prosecuting the men. Which brings me to my second point, the detriment legalizing prostitution would have on men. My opponent is arguing for legalizing prostitution, which means Johns and pimps are legal, tax-paying consumers of young, mentally and financially unstable women. What sort of effect do you think this will have on young men? Allowing this behavior to go not only unpunished, but inevitably to be normalized and even encouraged through advertising and marketing campaigns would lead young men down a dark, harm-filled path. Prostitution desensitizes men to sex and leads them toward more antisocial and deviant behavior. Instead of finding a wife, they hide in their house playing video games and rely on their weekly visit to the bunny ranch, where they will pay $400 to $2,000 to spend some time bussing in a hooker instead of building interpersonal relationships. Men meet women and go on dates to establish a connection with her and demonstrate their ability to provide for said women in hopes of finding a wife to raise their children. Prostitution is the exact opposite. This policy would also lead to a rise in adultery among men who were even lucky enough to find a wife. The normalization of prostitution would lead to men being more likely to choose to step out on their wives at a brothel or a roadside truck stop if there were no chance he would be arrested. It would be much easier to cheat with a whore than with the family friend that comes to dinner parties. This would lead to less families remaining intact and separated families having worse outcomes for children and society in general. It's hard to find studies on the harms of prostitution on men because most studies have been conducted by feminists who want to decriminalize hookers but arrest men. But I can speak on the men from my own personal experience, not to brag or to flex, but rather to establish ethos. I have known many sex workers and customers closely. I have sat outside a massage room in a trap house playing security for these girls. I've dated women who became sex workers. I've stayed in hotel rooms with friends who were working girls. But one thing I've never done is pay one. The men who pay for sex are betas. They're weak and shady, and often are likely to do very harmful things to a young prostitute. These simps should not be encouraged or even allowed legally to do the action which leads to so much harm to themselves and the women involved. Besides direct harm to the men and women involved in prostitution, harm to families and children, and to young adults being raised into a culture where prostitution was legal, the cost to all of society would outweigh the benefits of legalization. Legalization does not end the illegal prostitution business. It instead creates a dual economy. How much infrastructure would need to be created and altered in order to provide women safe, legal places of work for their new career field? We would need college courses on hoery to ensure job placement. Otherwise, most prostitutes would not be hired at a brothel. They would instead resort to street walking or escorting under the watchful eye of Mac Daddy Pimp. And you know they won't be paying their taxes. And prostitutes will still be getting raped and assaulted. So will those Johns, pimps, and hoes still be aggressed upon and arrested by police anyway? Also, in order to outprofit the illegal market, the legal, government-taxed market would need to use advertisement, propaganda, and government authority to normalize and control the legal economy. This leads to less social stigma and shaming and more acceptance and justification. The dual market increases demand in this case being 18-year-old girls or younger. Law enforcement and the judicial system become more divided due to more legal precedent being set and cops needing full retraining. New branches of government and three-letter agencies are formed using tax money from degeneracy, creating a bigger, richer government with more power over easily influenced people. Seems counterintuitive for a libertarian to ever fight for this. Every policy debate should have some arguments made as it relates to policy, logistics, legislature, and regulation, and these are just some of mine. In conclusion, after doing a thorough cost-benefit analysis of the harms caused and aggression necessary to regulate, tax, and control legal prostitution versus keeping it illegal, I find less pragmatic and ethical utility in legalization. The harm to women and costs to care for and protect these women from said harm would far outweigh the benefit and reduction of aggression to them if prostitution remains illegal. The harm to the strength and masculinity in young men would deteriorate their ability to lead and protect, costing all of society greatly and weakening our civilization. And the burden on our legal system and changes to our culture and economy from legal prostitution would demoralize and destabilize our people while empowering and enriching our government, leading to more aggression and harm. All of these costs and lack of benefits clearly depict a less pragmatic and more destructive proposition than my stance for keeping prostitution illegal. Before I finish, I want to paraphrase something I heard from a great man named Andrew Wilson. He recently said, "When debating with utilitarians, libertarians, liberals, or atheists, you can't simply beat them with logic and reason. You have to also tell them how to feel. So at the risk of being accused of an appeal to emotion, allow me to leave my opponent and the audience with one serious question to think about during this debate to help us all know how to feel about this issue. After hearing all the likely harms I listed, would you want your daughter to become a prostitute legally at 18 years old? And would you want your son spending his money on hookers rather than finding a decent wife and raising children? If the answer is no, and this thought horrifies you, then you should have no problem with keeping prostitution illegal. You should feel disgusted thinking about this. When we prostitute our daughters and make them whores, the land falls to whoredom and wickedness. Therefore, we must keep all prostitution illegal." I'm done.
All righty. Thank you for that, JS. Thank you both for your opening statements. And now we're going to move into the uninterrupted 5-minute rebuttal. Real quick, just say thank you to Cap'n for the $10 and Not Voltaire and Elizabeth for becoming members. I don't highlight during openings and closings, just again to avoid distractions. But with that, we're going to move into 5-minute uninterrupted rebuttals. We're going to hand the mic back to the Indian Jesus. And whenever you are ready, I will start the timer up with your voice.
All right, so just a couple notes here. I think let's just go from where you ended and go back. You asked if I would want my daughter to be a prostitute. Of course not. But just because I don't want something to happen doesn't mean that it should be legal. You are talking about these women as if it is that they are property or whatever. And very clearly, if you are allowed to vote, then you should be able to make decisions about what to do with your body. Again, I addressed the cost-benefit analysis that we would actually have to dig into the numbers to see what you're actually talking about. I don't think the cost-benefit analysis actually does go in your favor. I think it goes in mine, as I said, just like all the other things I listed. The funniest thing you said is that you need to have a degree in hoenomics or something like that. Sorry, reflex, but yeah, that's not how most industries work. What kind of degree do you need to be a construction worker? What kind of degree do you need to be a streamer? What kind of degree do you need to be any of these things? So that's just a red herring. And again, yeah, you're just still saying that I want the government to enforce my personal preferences. You're not giving anything specific about prostitution that isn't true of so many very other harmful things that I don't think that any of us would agree should be legalized. You brought up normalizing things. I never brought up I never said normalize anything. This is why society is crumbling, because you appeal to daddy government instead of private industry and culture. Just because something is legal doesn't mean that it is celebrated. And as I use the example of cigarettes, those are legal, but it's got people have been doing less and less, not because the government said so, because culturally we decided that is not good. You mentioned 84% of the women were pimped. I would love a definition on what a pimp is. And then, you brought up the Nordic model of where you go after the Johns and not the women. And that's pretty much what I'm proposing. So I think that might have been a concession right there. What else we got here? 70%. You said 70% of victims were. Yeah, you were bringing up that 70% of these women go into other things like OF and stripping. So I'd want to know if you think those should also be illegal. Again, all of these things with the STIs or STDs or whatever. If we had a more regulated situation where both men and women had to be tested and protection had to be used, these numbers would go down dramatically. About 68% of these women are depression and anxiety, PTSD, all of that stuff. I would argue that is just women in general. Yeah, again, I think the utility benefits, reducing harm and bettering society actually do fall in my favor, even though it sounds like you're trying to say, oh, Lutch thinks prostitution is good. That is, as stated clearly in my opening, that is not the argument. That is a legal one that I agree with you culturally that we should shame people who do this, but clearly prohibition does not work. See my tab.
All righty. Thank you for that rebuttal, Indian Jesus. And with that, we're going to hand the mic back over to JS Urban Adventures for his 5-minute uninterrupted rebuttal. And whenever you're ready, I'll start the timer up with your voice.
Okay. When you go second on these, you got a lot more stuff to respond to in the rebuttals. So I'll respond to what you said in your opening first, because my opening is pre-written, and then I'll respond to what you said in your rebuttal. So Um, so you talk about regulation. You want regulation. Well, and this also goes to your rebuttal. The Nordic model and the equality model is not legalization. That's legalizing the women, the prostitutes, but not legalizing the Johns and the pimps. They arrest the men and they legalize these are feminists who argue that the prostitutes are going to go through more harm if they get a criminal record. They're going to get harassed by police and they're forced into this career field by bad life circumstances. So they don't want to go after the women. They just want to go after the pimps and the Johns. Definition of a pimp is the manager, which kind of ties to what you said about the women aren't property. An employee is essentially, in a way, it's kind of like property of the manager so a brothel just becomes a legal pimp, and the place where she works, that's her job. She can't lose her job. She's going to lose her house. So essentially she kind of becomes property of that place while she's working. And then I explained, you talk about shame and we need to not normalize it. And I never said that you thought it was good. I'm just saying that you argue for legalization. But shame, I talked about how a dual economy and a market, if there's a market for this, it doesn't shame people. It normalizes it, and it encourages it. As soon as pot became legal in California, you saw commercials on TV for pot shops. You see billboards for pot shops. Same with cigarettes, same with alcohol. And if we're going to play this game where you keep asking me, what about cigarettes? What about stripping? What about prostitution? I'm a prohibitionist. Yes, all of that should be illegal. But that's irrelevant. But we can actually go down that road, because maybe you can find something that I don't think should be illegal that's harmful, and you could show an inconsistency in my internal critique of utilitarianism, and that's fine, because I'll show some inconsistencies in your views too. So I'm ready for that. Let's see. About morality being objective. I do believe morality is objective, but I'm coming at this from, I'm trying to take that out of it, you know? I'm trying to just look at it practically. This is a policy debate. We're talking about legalizing something. So I'm trying to stick to policy and what's better for society. I agree about the stats and studies being kind of irrelevant, because we'll be able to go back and forth all day. I liked your point actually about all women are kind of depressed and PTSD. I can't really argue it. That was a good one. I actually thought about that when I was writing it, but that's what they say. That's what the stats say. So, the Loverboy method, you talked about the Loverboy method. The Loverboy method, I would agree that it's not sex trafficking if it weren't for the idea of sexual tourism. Now, I don't know about Andrew Tate specifically. I don't know what he did or didn't do. I know what he was alleged to do, but if those girls were underage and he was doing sexual tourism, then yeah, that should definitely be illegal. But sure, meeting a girl and traveling around with her shouldn't be illegal. Now, should OnlyFans be illegal? That's another topic. But I do think that is, you know, some degenerate sex work, and probably, yeah, it should be illegal. Oh, and then one other thing, you were talking about Christian men should not need laws to do what's right. Laws aren't written and made for moral people. Moral people and Christian men, we don't have laws to not murder so that non-murderers don't murder. We have laws against murder and theft for the murderers and the thieves. So it's not, we live in a you know, I say we live in a Christian nation, but probably the majority of the people are secular, and our laws are based for secular people. So the laws are for the people who are going to be inclined to do those crimes. And there's going to be a lot of men who want to have sex with women and just pay a little money for it. So, and I'm not a fan of Benjamin Franklin either. And that's it.
All right.
All right. Thank you for that.
Let's do this.
Thank you for that rebuttal, JS. And with that, we're going to move into the 1 hour of open floor. for the debaters to cross-examine each other. Chat, just a quick reminder for you all, the live Q&A is up. If you guys want to get your questions in there for the debaters, we have a 30-minute Q&A after the debate, but there's only 30 minutes. So if you want to make sure your question takes priority, send it via Super Chat, and it gets to the front of the list. Also, I have put both debaters into the description, so if you don't see it, just hit refresh, you'll see it. Go sub up to both debaters, and they're both streaming right now, so go visit both their streams, send them a super chat, show them some support for coming out and giving you guys a show tonight, all right? With that, whoever would like to start off with the open floor, I will start the timer with your voice, and again, thank you both for being here tonight.
If you don't mind, can you give define what you mean by you said sex tourism? I've heard that before, but I don't know exactly what that is.
Sex tourism would be like in France, the age of consent is 14. If I'm an American and I go to France to have sex with I don't want to, but that would be sexual tourism.
Okay, gotcha. Fair enough. So, I mean, I think we could start with your comparison of employees essentially being property. I mean, to an extent, I don't disagree that there is an aspect of that, but I don't think that you would agree that because somebody has a job that they are property of their employer. I think at least not in the same context as when we talk about traditional sex trafficking. I don't think those things are comparable. A pimp is not the same thing as a manager. That's why we have the word manager and we have the word pimp.
Well, I mean, the women go to the pimp and they elect to be there. They could run away if they wanted to.
They do. Indeed, they can.
So, yeah.
So why should that be illegal?
Why should it be illegal? Because the pimp's harm because of everything I listed in my opening. It's harmful to the men who engage in it. It's harmful to the women who engage in it. It's harmful to society. You talk about daddy government and how I'm appealing to daddy government. Have you ever heard of the ATF?
Yep.
Alcohol, tobacco. Which of those three things is legal and which of them is illegal?
Tobacco is legal, alcohol is legal, and firearms are illegal. Well, not illegal, but I mean, not as legal as they should be under the Constitution.
So we have a 3-letter agency that did Waco, that did Ruby Ridge. We have a 3-letter government agency that revolves around 3 legal things that we legalized. So once those things are legalized, they're taxed. The government's going to tax prostitution in brothels.
Okay.
So we're paying taxes to the government. The government's getting
that's
richer.
How legal activities work. Why is that a bad thing? If those taxes are able to help reduce the harm that you're talking about, what's the issue?
Am I wrong? I've listened to some of your debates and stuff. You lean libertarian and utilitarian, right? Those are your.
Yeah, I like to say I am a utilitarian, but I put individual liberty above that.
Okay, as a libertarian, wouldn't you want less government? Once you legalize prostitution, you're creating another whole arm of enforcement. You're creating they'll create.
No, prohibition is all of the government. Legalizing it with regulations would be pulling back pulling back the government, not adding in the government. So when you're talking about firearms, we already have we already have the Constitution. So any regulations in that case are the government doing more. But in this case, we're already in a position where the government is doing the most. And so I'm asking for the government to do less.
If they're taking in taxes from something, do you think that the government's going to get bigger and expand its power, or do you think it's going to get smaller when it's taking in an increased revenue, a whole new revenue source?
Yeah, in general, more money is going to be a bigger government.
Okay, so that's my point.
Okay, so then because things bring in a lot of tax money, we should make them illegal?
No, that's just it's odd that as a libertarian, this would lead to more government power. This would lead to more laws.
Again, I disagree. We're at full government intervention where you are not allowed to do the thing. Then we pull that back, and you are allowed to do. There are things that right now the government would say, no, you can't do that, but you would be able to do that. So that you're giving you more power, not less.
Who do you think's going to regulate all these brothels? Who do you think's going to manage the infrastructure and the building of brothels and the zoning of where we're going to put the brothels? So like
that's still less of an effect than blocking it all.
And
I understand what you're saying. I'm not very clearly the government is going to be the ones that have to regulate. But
right.
again, the point that I'm making is that it's not that we're in a position where anybody can do anything, and now we're adding in regulations. We're already past regulations, and everybody's saying not at all. And I'm saying that we should pull that back, and there should be regulations, but it shouldn't be across the board illegal. And again, not because I think it's great or that you should be doing this or that, but because I don't believe the numbers bore out that the harm actually is lesser when it is illegal.
You don't believe the harm is lesser when it's illegal. Wait. Well,
Less harm when it's legal.
less harm when it's legal.
Yeah, because again, you're talking about all the
So-
the STDs. You talk about women or men getting robbed. You talk about Johns beating up women. All of these things right now. Those are happening on the black market. And so technically, yes, if you're a prostitute and you get robbed or beat up, you could go to the police, but we know that people don't do that in the same way that we know that with drugs, we often see people will let their friends die on an overdose because they don't want to call the cops and get in trouble for doing the drugs. And so they added in a Good Samaritan law. And so now it is pulling the government back. So
But that's
normal
not
circumstances-
legalizing. That's not legalizing doing the drug. That's legalizing taking them to the hospital to save them.
No, it's making the situation where because there's somebody died in your vicinity, the illegal thing that you did no longer is illegal.
If
You no longer get in trouble for doing that.
If somebody's doing drugs in my house and dies, I wasn't doing the drugs. They could have been in my bathroom doing the drugs without me knowing.
Yeah, but that's not how the law works. If if there's drugs found in your house, it's your house.
But I would agree with that Good Samaritan law that you could take them or get them help if they need. I would agree with that. That'd be fine.
Okay, so then why wouldn't we be able to apply that to as a first step to prostitution?
What that if a
That
prostitute
if you're a prostitute and you get like beaten up by a John,
if
then
if I grape a prostitute, I can take her to the place to get a test.
Well, no, the
done
other
and
way
make-
around. She could take you to court. She would be able to call the cops on you or take you to court. Even though she was engaged in illegal activity, it now becomes not illegal because of the Good Samaritan law.
Okay.
So that is a form of legalization and regulation. That's why I specifically stated I'm not just talking about do whatever you want. We're talking about rolling back prohibition. In the same way with alcohol, it was prohibited, and now there are laws around it. You can do it; it's legal. But that doesn't mean that you could just be driving drunk. It doesn't mean you could be drinking in public, at a school, so on and so forth.
Yeah, we did that
I'm
so
saying-
that we could get out of the Great Depression and so that the government could make a bunch of money off of alcohol. And now there's billboards and there's hobos who buy 40s first thing in the morning when they wake up.
So you in favor of
Yeah, I'm a
making alcohol
prohibitionist.
legal?
Yes.
Really?
But
That-
anyway, we could save that for another time. But okay, so we're
I mean,
talking
I think that's pretty relevant because that's what I'm trying to demonstrate is that we have a lot of things in society that are harmful, but because of the freedoms that they are legal, and it's not up to the government to decide. Well, that's bad for you, so you can't do it. Remember the soda tax in New York? What was that, De Blasio or whatever? That's un-American. If I want to, drown myself in sugar, who the fuck are you to tell me I can't do it?
So let's say I was for alcohol being legal. Would that be inconsistent of me?
No.
Okay. So what does it matter? Like with policy, we go case by case and issue by issue. So I may say maybe cigarettes and alcohol should be legal, but prostitution shouldn't be legal. That wouldn't be inconsistent.
No, but then I would be able to dig into, okay, well, why is that the case, and potentially show an inconsistency. But fine, if you think you just want to ban everything that's bad, that you think is bad, I guess that's a position. But I don't know how many people are going to agree that whatever JS says should be the law. I think that's a slippery slope.
So it just comes down to my preference. What I like or don't like.
Are you appealing to something else?
No, I'm curious. I'm critiquing your worldview. So would you make cannibalism? Let's say it's very utilitarian. I could end world hunger tomorrow if we all just started eating our dead. Instead of wasting them, instead of burying them in a cemetery somewhere, Why don't we all just start eating people? We can say we'll
because
stop
of the
world
cultural
hunger.
value, we put in the human body. And so again, going back to the notion, if we didn't have any cultural values, then there
Cultural
wouldn't
va-
be anything wrong with it.
The
But
cultural value we put into the human body. What about the young girl who is turning her body into a vending machine for sex?
is she of
We
age?
don't culturally
Is she of
value
age?
her body.
Wait, are we talking about someone of age, or are we talking? You said young girl, so
Well, you said we put a cultural value in dead bodies, so we don't eat
Mhm.
them, but we
Mhm.
don't put cultural value in live bodies of young girls enough to not allow men to have sex with them for money and not allow them to sell their own body.
So again, are you talking about? You say young girls? Do you mean of age 18, but they're
18.
young, or
18,
okay?
yes.
So yeah, if this again is just because you don't like it and you say it's bad, I don't agree that the numbers bore out that the harm is worse if it is
Right, and just because you don't
clean.
like cannibalism, you say, and we culturally
Yeah,
value the body. I
yeah.
don't know what.
Yeah. So again, I'm appealing to the fact that we want our values to reflect our laws, not the other way around. We don't want the laws to dictate our culture. We want the culture to dictate the laws.
Yeah, and this is the problem with the utilitarian perspective, because we're not actually looking at utility. We're looking at what we like and what we don't like. And so I'm big, bad, mean, authoritarian guy because I want to make immoral things illegal. And you're the freedom guy because you want to keep them legal, even if they're harmful. Even if I can demonstrate all these harms to you, legalizing it, that's what I was talking about in my opening. Legalizing doesn't get rid of all the reason I brought up the college course in hoery is because there's only going to be limited numbers of brothels. All the prostitutes aren't going to be able to get hired at brothels unless we build a brothel on every corner. So
Okay.
so these
not-
girls are going to want to get job placement. They're going to want to make sure that they're the best and they're ready to get hired. Otherwise, what happens to them?
So I mean, I can. So again, I'm just going to compare this to a different situation where we already have this. Like if we talk about like hair and makeup, when we go into hair and makeup, that yeah, you could just do it, right? But I think what I'm trying to steel man you. What you're saying is that you have some type of accreditation, then you're more likely to get better clients. And so is that what you're getting at?
I'm just saying, girls are going to want to get hired at the brothels. There's going to be a limited number of jobs in the brothels. If they don't get jobs in the brothels, what are they going to do?
Get a different job?
No, they're going to work the street.
Okay, but if that's not part of the regulation, then we're already in agreement that that shouldn't be allowed. In the same way that even though you can drink alcohol, that you can't get because you can get behind a car physically doesn't mean that's allowed. So
Exactly.
again, we have regulations.
This is
And
my
so
point, that legalizing it doesn't stop the harm that comes from prostitution. It creates a dual economy where now you have legal ones that you have to regulate and the government profits off of, and then
but you can't get rid of
ones.
prostitution. That's not really an option on the table. I mean, if it was, then I would be with you. We should get rid of prostitution from human existence. I would be down with that.
Right,
But that's not a realistic thing.
Right, we can't get rid of murder, but we still make it illegal, even though people are gonna murder.
Well, yeah, but that's because there's no once somebody's dead, they're dead. How is that comparable to somebody having sex consensually?
Okay, theft. Why do
you steal something? It's gone. What do you mean?
So that goes to my original question, my main.
So what's
question.
gone? What's gone with when a woman engages in prostitution or a man?
Well, the first time, her purity, which is her strongest value, her strongest bargaining chip in a relationship, is that.
And if she knows that and decides I want to give that away, why are you allowed to tell her no?
There's also been shown about.
Well, hold on. Wait. Could I? Sorry.
Go ahead. Ask me the question again. Sorry.
Yeah. So if you're saying that, then if it's taking away her purity and so on and so forth. If she's aware of that and consents to doing that, who are you to tell her that she can't do it?
No, I'm nobody. She can do that if she wants. That's why I can. Yeah, you're right. Sure. So she can give away her purity if she wants. That's fine.
Again, I agree with you. It's a bad thing, but we're talking about the law, and so I don't think that just because it is harmful, unless it does go to the degree of direct bodily harm, things like that, which we already have laws for. So
if-
if you're
but-
talking about getting beaten up or all these things, we already have laws for that.
Right. And you agree that it's bad and that, but instead of making it illegal, we should shame it. And what I'm saying is when you
Mhm.
legalize it, it doesn't lead to shame. It leads to normalization and profit incentive.
Well, not if we get together and all of us who believe what we believe actually speak out against what we speak out against. That's why I brought up the cigarettes, because that is exactly what happened with cigarettes. Cigarettes are harmful. Cigarettes are legal. Cigarettes went out of favor because we shamed it and it became a taboo behavior. Why would we expect? I mean, maybe it will, but I don't understand why you would say that prostitution is principally different issue
Principally different from what?
from the cigarettes. I'm saying cigarettes. We agree cigarettes bad.
Yeah.
And today we have less cigarette smokers, but we didn't need prohibition for that to happen. So
We have less
right now we
cigarettes.
have
No, we don't have less cigarette smokers due to stigma and shame. We have less cigarette smokers because we have vapes and we have freaking what do they call it? The pouches. More people have moved to those.
that was way after I mean, I would have to look it up, but the decrease that we saw with the truth ads were way before vapes were a thing.
It's the same thing. The other night I heard you on Grid One's channel, and I thought this was pretty good. You were talking about fat shaming and how we fat shamed obesity. Like, I don't know, we fat shamed obesity.
And I actually thank you for bringing that up, because I actually didn't get to finish my point, because I was trying to say I was saying that fat shaming does work, and
then she brought up the body positivity movement,
right? And so I'm saying that yes, the fact that is, we've hit the peak of that. We're moving beyond that, and so we're in the process of that now. So we may be at the peak right now, but the fact that body shaming goes against the body positivity is what is helping people.
So similar to my vape and my pouch and my Zen pouch argument, why do you think the body positivity movement ended?
Because it's unscientific and it doesn't make sense.
Could it have anything to do with GLP-1s and Ozempic and Lizzo getting skinny all of a sudden, and everybody's got a faster way to get skinny now, so we don't have to keep pushing body positivity. Now we can push GLP-1s and people can just stick a needle in their stomach and get skinny instead of working out, and the government can profit off.
I mean, rich people can. The average person can't afford that.
How much is it?
I mean, I don't know, but why do we still see fat people walking around? We only see celebrities using Ozempic.
Well, there's gonna be fat people, right? Just like there's gonna be people, whatever.
Prostitutes, smokers, yeah, there's always going to be these things, and what I'm arguing is that the what I'm proposing, legalization with strict regulations, will force, and maybe I'll even give you this, maybe temporarily there would be a spike in use, but I think that we can see that the values of our nation that are getting stronger between Christians and Christian ethics and secular people who are seeing that the left is garbage, like myself, we are becoming a stronger and stronger and stronger coalition. And so in the same way that the trans thing has, died down, has started to die down, that is not because anybody banned being trans, but people were finally willing to say, no, I'm not using whatever freakazoid pronouns you want. You can't get in the bathroom with my daughter, so on and so forth.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the same thing. Well, I guess, so whatever. I'll take that example, but that's kind of different. It's a social contagion from mental illness,
right? And so I would argue that the regular use of prostitution is exactly the same thing, and maybe a more difficult problem to address.
If degeneracy is a mental illness. The social contagion in the prostitution case would just be the spread of degeneracy. People like sex; they want to have sex, and especially when young men are unsexed and they're less social, they're more antisocial, they're on the internet all the time. They're going to be more likely to just spend some money to get sex.
Okay, so let me give you a hypothetical here. So I mean, I would assume that you think corn is bad.
Yeah.
So do you think that if, let's say we have an 18-year-old boy, virgin, incel, whatever, is it better for him to spend all day, because again, we're talking about the laws that we already have. Corn is legal. So would you rather that 18-year-old boy spend all day gooning in his room to I call it P-Hub content, or once a week he goes out and sees a toot, and the rest of his week he's actually a productive member of society? Which one would be better?
Those are my only two options.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying which would be better out of the two. I'm not saying that's the only thing that a boy can do.
Because there's a better option.
Absolutely. I'm just saying between those two options, which one is worse?
Between those two, probably the gooning in his room.
Exactly. So then what you're establishing that I agree with, that it is at least potential that if we have these people with these issues, then maybe solution is a strong word, but a way to help them is to be able to get them actual human interaction. And then they can be more productive members of society. And then, of course, like we said before, we don't have to worry as much about the STDs and stuff, and the violence. And now everybody's happy.
Yeah, but you gave me two horrible options. Basically, it's like, would you rather get drowned or burned to death? Like, both of those.
I'd rather drown.
I'd rather drown. We could make pornography and prostitution illegal, and then that would lead to more social shame and stigmatization. You know what is really shameful is having a criminal record, going to jail. That'll really shame somebody. Is once you get a mug shot and you spend a month in jail, and then you come out and you have a criminal record and you can't get a good job. That's very socially stigmatizing. That will deter people from doing things that they might otherwise want to do.
No, I understand that your argument is that we should make it illegal. But yeah, obviously going to jail is a bad thing. But I think the question is this worthy of going to jail? So again, if we bring it back to another behavior that we don't like, I don't think you would agree with, if you want to prohibit the use of alcohol. I don't know how willing you would be to give somebody a prison record for just possessing alcohol.
Maybe it's not a felony. Maybe it's this would all be the policies, the policy stuff. How we would
but they have a record. They have a record and they can't get a job.
Maybe it's a misdemeanor the first time.
Do you think that's a reasonable punishment for somebody owning a bottle of alcohol?
No, if you're
Me neither. What are we talking about?
No, I'm saying if you're drunk in public, that's not a felony. That's a misdemeanor. You might spend a night in the drunk tank.
Sure.
So you would do similar things with
you
prostitution.
Specifically said they have a record and it prevents them to get a job. So whichever scenario that you're saying, this person is no longer able to get a job because they owned a bottle of alcohol.
Yes, I'm saying
your real view. That's what you're proposing.
Yes, breaking the law.
Yeah, that's
and getting
crazy.
Punished for breaking the law,
but that
stigmatizes it. It deters people from wanting to do it. So maybe it's not like the first time a prostitute gets caught, she's going to go to prison for 10 years and have a felony on her record. No, it would start as a misdemeanor. Maybe she spends a night in jail. Maybe she has a fine. And then if she keeps getting caught doing it over and over again, eventually you ramp it up like we do with other crimes already. We would come to an agreement on what a fair punishment is for this. And then that would be the stigmatization. That would be the deterrence. Because, at like the Bunny Ranch, they don't STD test the men. So what is the harm reduction?
Well, then they should. I mean, like, I'm not saying
they're going to have a rapid acting STD test.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they have those. No,
I don't know. I didn't look into that.
I'm not that active, so I don't really know. But what I'm getting at is all of these things have ways that they can be addressed by regulation. We don't just have to say it's bad, therefore nobody can ever do it ever. And so if you do it, now your life is ruined. I don't think that is a good way to address these things.
At what point do we regulate it so much that it's basically illegal?
How do you mean?
Like, what sort of regulations are you talking? You're talking about it needs to be done in a brothel. They need to have STD tests. They need to have security there so that they don't get raped or beaten, stuff like that. Okay, and then now when the women let's say she loses her job at the brothel and she goes and starts working on the street. Is that going to be illegal?
I would say, I don't know. I mean, there would be, again, going back to my opening statement, wouldn't just be like you could do it anywhere. We would have to say if it is thus that you don't need a brothel, then maybe you need some type of, I don't know, like license or something, or I don't know.
Okay.
So
And let's say-
potentially they could do this work outside of a brothel.
Let's say 5% of prostitutions end up working in brothels and end up having their license and getting their STD tests and having the security and a front desk where the guy checks in and all that stuff. 95% of them are still doing it illegally. In Nevada.
But then we arrest those people.
Okay, so if 95% of it's illegal, isn't it basically, I mean, that's pretty much illegal. This is the same thing I had with the drug debate. It's basically, it's illegal, but we have carve-outs for ways that you could do it legally. Just like Oxycontin, it's illegal for me to walk around with Oxycontin and sell Oxycontin. But there's a carve-out where if I get my prescription from the hospital, that would be legal.
Yeah,
Oxycontin is still illegal. So prostitution would still be illegal, but we'd have, just like we have in Nevada, if you're in a city with less than 700,000 people, you could set up a brothel.
Well,
But
right,
the
but this is
majority
specific.
of prostitution in Nevada
Sure.
is still illegal prostitution.
Well, that's as of right now. That's because it's illegal, and we don't have the resources to. You can't build a brothel and be like and advertise and all that stuff. If you were able to do that, then unless you have a reason to think that most of those wouldn't go into the brothels, and yes, again, you're going to have streetwalkers no matter what.
So you're not even arguing for legalization. You're arguing for decriminalization and regulation. The equality model or the Nordic model is not legalization.
Well, okay, so tell me which part of what I'm saying does not qualify as legalization.
Are you a fan of the equality model? Like streetwalkers, hookers on the street, should they be criminalized? Or should that be illegal? No. Now,
Not necessarily. Again, not necessarily. I mean, I would need more specifics, but essentially, no. I think if you want to do that, there should be laws on how that has to be done. Maybe certain places where it can be done. A red light district or something like that. Regulations. But if you're there, then go for it.
okay. Yeah. See, this is basically just decriminalization and regulation. Legalization, if you legalized it, it could be like alcohol is legal. I can walk down to the 7-Eleven and get alcohol. And then there's regulations for when I can't do it. But the majority of the time, I can get alcohol anytime I want, wherever, at any bar, at any gas station.
So are guns legal?
Guns are legal.
So you could just go into a store anywhere in the U.S. and buy a gun?
Okay, so where's the...
No, you can't.
No, you can't. Okay, so
And
guns...
so I agree that should not be the case, but then you can't say that, well, it's legal and it's not. So we're talking about, I mean, I really think that we actually kind of are not too far apart on this in terms of the
Well,
point
no,
that you're willing to accept.
I wouldn't allow brothels.
No, I know. I'm not saying your position. I'm sorry. I'm not too far. I don't think there is too far for us to be like, oh, okay, I disagree, but that does make a lot of sense. I think we're arguing for a very I think what you're saying is again, I know that you want to abolish it all, but the things that I'm proposing, it seems like you're like, okay, well that's not really what I thought. I thought you were kind of just saying that everybody could do it anyway. And I know that you didn't say that.
No, I kind of figured this was what it was going to be, is because a lot of times people say legalize this, and then when I start asking them, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? It's so regulated that it might as well just be illegal.
But it's not.
But it's not illegal.
I mean, it may as well be. Sure, I agree with you. But just because something may as well be illegal doesn't make that illegal.
So where's the line that we draw where it goes from legalization to decriminalization to, because if the pimps and the Johns are still, getting prosecuted, that's not legal prostitution.
It is if they're doing it outside of the regulations that were given. Again, let's say in New York City, Mondani wins and he has a red light district, and you can go and you could be a pimp and you could be a prostitute, you could be a John in this one city block. That is legal in that municipality. And so I'm not even saying that it needs to be, we need a federal law that it is absolutely legal everywhere. I'm just saying it should not be illegal in the sense that if a town wants to say we don't want to have any prostitution here, then okay. I mean, a town could make it illegal just like anything else. But I kind of thought we were talking more on the federal scale.
Well, once we're when we're talking about legalization, we're talking about government regulation and government taxation. Like the government basically comes in and controls this market now, or they can outsource to corporations and things like that, but everybody has to go through the government to get the proper approval to sell the alcohol, to sell the cigarettes, to sell the pot. They go through the government now. That's legalization. Big Daddy government becomes daddy of the hookers now, the pimp.
Right, but that's all the only reason that isn't the case is because the pimps are the daddies. And so if we're going from pimps to the government, then the recourse is there. And so both pimps and government is bad. I agree. But if we're saying who's going to control this and make sure that this is going well, I'm going to trust the government slightly more than the pimps. Maybe an individual pimp, I'd be like, hey, I don't know about all pimps, but this guy knows what he's doing. The government, fuck the government. But in general, I'm not going to say that the reputations of our politicians matter so little that they would be willing to make laws that are so egregious that it doesn't fit the legal principles that I'm putting forth.
But legalizing it doesn't get rid of the pimps. It just makes more pimps and legal pimps. And still illegal pimps.
But I think again, going back to the comparison to the pimp versus the employer, that when you talk about someone being property, I think when you're talking about the black market and you have a pimp and the bottom bitch or whatever, then let's not be sexist, all right? Don't forget about Ghislaine Maxwell. She was the Mac Daddy of all pimps. But I shouldn't have made that joke. I don't remember where I was going. God damn it. What was the last thing you said?
I'm talking about the dual economy. I'm talking about how legalizing it is not going to get rid of the harms. It's not going to get rid of the so you say you want to reduce harms.
I think it will get rid of the harms.
You want to reduce harms and you want to increase social stigma and shame. And I'm saying legalizing it is going to decrease social stigma and shame, and it's going to increase harm. Because now there's going to be more women likely to go into prostitution. There's going to be more men likely to engage in prostitution. And there's going to be more men who want to become pimps or brothel owners.
But if that is in a if that is in a context where we regulate any other thing, then okay, personally, you're saying that you want all things that JS says is bad or illegal. I get that, but is that is that what you're putting forth, that everybody should think that anything that JS thinks is bad should be prohibited? And I mean, I'm not even necessarily disagreeing. I'm not even necessarily disagreeing with your point, but that is kind of a that's kind of a you don't really have any justification for that. I think my argument is the exact opposite, that even if there's a slight increase, that society and Christian values would win out, and we would be able to stamp that out in the same way we did with cigarettes.
If Christian values won out, we would make it illegal. The sword of God appoints the authorities to wield the sword of wrath against the wrongdoer. We believe in justice. We believe in law and order. So we would have laws against this. We have 2 books in the Bible that are dedicated to laws. So we would make laws against this. God gave a lot of laws.
Okay, but do you get what I'm saying? Or I could restate it. I wasn't making that point.
Yeah, you restate what you said.
But just the point that
you said a Christian society would win out, and it would go ahead.
Right. So if we not necessarily a Christian society, but a society where Christianity is at the core. And so, like, again, as an agnostic atheist, I have no problems with Christianity being the core of how we figure things out. I just don't want to be forced to say, I believe.
Then you do. Then you do have a problem you do have a problem with how a Christian founded nation would deal with things, because we would deal with things by
That's not what I
punishing
said. I said the
wrongdoers.
ethics. The ethics.
The ethics of Christianity says we make laws and we punish wrongdoers.
Okay, and punishment could be shame.
And
I don't.
wrong is what's immoral, not the most utility or harmful. It's what's wrong. So if our nation is founded in Christian values, then we're going to have laws against things, and we're gonna lock people up or put people on probation or charge them fines, like we do. But
So
you
Christians
have a
need,
problem
so
with
Christians
that
need a
because
law
of-
to not
because of
engage
my
in
freedoms.
degeneracy. Is that the argument you're making? Christians need a law to not engage in degeneracy?
We've been given laws to not engage in degeneracy, and we've been
But you
told
need
to
what
follow
I'm
those
asking.
laws and to wield those laws and have
Would
judges.
you go to a prostitute tonight if you got a revelation from God that was like, hey, prostitution's actually good? Would you go to a prostitute tonight?
Okay. First, so all the Christians don't get mad at me because I'll bite these bullets, but that's not in God's nature to tell me to do that. But hypothetically,
How do you know that?
because we've been shown God's nature through the scripture and through ecclesiastical authority and through revelation, all these things. We know God's nature, that he's not going to tell us to do that. But
Who's we? Who's we?
Christians.
So Christians all believe the same
Listen,
thing
I'm gonna
about what God's will.
answer your question, and I'm gonna say yes.
Okay.
If I knew for a fact that God was standing in front of me, it's not Satan, it's not some demon. God is standing in front of me, and he tells me, tonight, I want you to go have sex with a hooker. This would be Hosea and Gomer. He did tell a guy to do this. So I would do it. Yeah. If he told me to marry a prostitute, I would do it. Yeah.
Okay, fair. So that's a direct command. So if I can switch the question a little bit, if God said that prostitution was amoral, it wasn't good or bad, would you then?
If all throughout the Bible and all throughout church history, prostitution was an acceptable, right thing to do, a moral thing to do, then yeah, I would say that we should not make it illegal. But that's not the case.
Wait, that wasn't the question. So again, if God says it is amoral, would you go to see a prostitute tonight?
Amoral meaning neither moral nor immoral?
Correct.
No.
Why not?
Because I don't like it.
Okay. And so the law should be just based on what you like. I feel like we keep coming back to this.
Yeah,
we're just talking about your preferences.
We've taken morality. Right. I'm trying to internally critique the utilitarian worldview. So yes, I'm just talking about my preference. There's no morals on the table. There's no Christian ethics on the table. We're just talking about what's good and bad for society and people in general, what's harmful.
Okay, so how about this? Let's say hypothetically, if it was the case that I was correct, that legalizing this would lower the harm because of all the things that we brought up, there was less violence, there was less STDs and all that, would you then agree that it should be legalized on the basis of harm, not your specific position, like where you were standing in this debate? If you were sure that legalizing it would lower the harm, would you change your position?
No, because it's just not my preference. The same way that you wouldn't legalize cannibalism.
No, again, that is not a
same way that you probably wouldn't legalize incest.
Right. But these are not because I specifically have a preference against it. It's that
there's no harm. What's the harm? Well, there's actually going to be a lot of benefit. We're going to end world hunger. Like, what's the harm from incest?
I mean, depending on the circumstances, it might not be any. But again, that is why the culture matters. It's not just about my preferences. I think that's the argument that you're making. Your preferences happen to be Christian ethics. And so you're just saying whatever I like should be legal and whatever I don't like should be illegal. You're not giving a justification beyond, I think it's yucky.
Yeah. And without...
So that's why I'm saying if it was the case that we knew that legalizing it would lower the harm, you still wouldn't change your mind.
I have shown harms. So we've talked about the harms. Like How about, for example, the Bunny Ranch? I have a thing right here in front of me. A&E did a whole series on it from the Reno Gazette Journal. It talks about how women at the Bunny Ranch report being abused, bullied. They don't sex test the men, or they don't STD check the men who go there.
Yeah, they should.
They should STD check the men.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
And when a
Well,
woman,
so to real quick, because you'd asked about this before, and the rapid test, I would say that no, you would have to. I don't know how long STD tests take, but let's say it takes 3 days. That you would have to have, a paper within the last 2 weeks that you got tested, or something like that. So you don't have to go in and do a rapid test. You just already have the papers that you need.
I think it must be pretty rapid because they do them weekly.
Okay, there you go. So then
They do weekly
you know,
STI tests and monthly HIV tests. So the HIV test probably takes a little longer. But say the woman gets off work and she goes and sleeps and has sex with her boyfriend, not in the brothel. She just has sex with her boyfriend, but her boyfriend was running out on her during the daytime and he picked up an STD. Now she has an STD. She goes to work and gets checked and she loses her job. She's got to keep making money. She's got to keep paying her bills. So what's she going to do?
find another job. I mean, sometimes shit happens. Like, you're not owed a job, right?
She's going to do what she knows. She's going to go work the street.
What does it have to do with the legalization? Just because somebody's going to do something bad doesn't mean that in the situation where you've had bad life circumstances and you make bad decisions, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Because my point is that we're still going to arrest prostitutes. We're still going to arrest Johns. We're still going to arrest pimps. If they break the regulations. So the only thing you're doing by legalizing these brothels is when a little girl's growing up, she sees commercials on TV for the brothel. She sees billboards when she goes outside for the brothel. There's a brothel built down the street from her. And she says, when I grow up, I want to be a hooker.
So then maybe we as individuals, part of this community, should be stronger at calling out when people are going to put up a billboard and say, we don't want that in our town. We don't want this kind of stuff. We don't want a brothel here. That is, again, atrophying the moral muscle of our communities. Just say, well, let the government figure it out. And if the government says yes, well, okay, there we go. Now we've got billboards everywhere. That is exactly the problem. The problem.
When something's
we need
illegal,
a stronger moral conscience, and we can't have that conscience without the ability to do wrong. Someone who cannot act immorally cannot be a moral agent.
Where do you get that from? Where do you get that morality from? Where does our society get that morality from?
What
we like and what we don't like? If prostitution's illegal, because as a society, a secular society, we think it's wrong and people should be punished for doing it. Then we make it legal. Now we've just said, okay, it's not wrong anymore, secular people. We just legalized it. Why would people be like, oh, well, don't be putting up billboards and stuff. We don't like it. Then you should have kept it illegal. And assuming this isn't a democracy, this means people are voting for this. People are. Yeah. So overall, people vote to legalize it. Why do you think that they're going to start shaming it after that?
I'm not proposing that the same people who are voting for it are going to be shaming it.
So the minority is going to shame the majority.
Sure. But the minority, those things change. And like I've already conceded to you, I think if we legalize it, that there would be a small bump, but on the long term, then it would just not be something that is as novel. And we've already gotten to the point of harm where you talked about where we compared the gooner and the guy who goes to see a prostitute. So if that is less harm, then I don't see why we wouldn't want to go in that direction. But again, if you're just going to say, well, no, it's bad. I think it's bad, so it should be illegal. Like, okay, I guess I can't argue with that, but I don't know if that's a legal argument.
Yeah, I gave you a bunch of examples of harms that it causes.
And I gave you a bunch of counter examples as to why that's not the case. So if you want to dig into the data, we can't do that. But if you're saying that all of these, like this percent gets this and that percent gets that, then you would also have to prove that that would not go down if we had these brothels. And you can't prove that.
You don't even need to go into the data. It's common sense.
It's not common sense. I completely think the opposite, and I just gave you a logical thing as to why. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's why I'm asking you to prove me wrong. You can't just say that I'm wrong because it's obvious. That's not an argument,
Well, I've given you lots of examples of
right? And I've knocked down all of that. I've addressed everything that
didn't-
you've said. What
No,
have
you
I? What have I
you
not
ha-
addressed?
You haven't knocked down. I just said that bunny ranches, when there's legalized prostitution, murders in places where
That's
they
not what you
legalized.
brought up. You brought up testing when you brought up the bunny
I
ranch.
brought up the bunny ranch. I brought up this Reno Gazette article that I have right in front of me. I brought up
Okay,
Julie Bindell, who's a well-known researcher in this area, talking about how homicides go up from Johns and pimps in areas where they've decriminalized it. Decriminalized supply, meaning they just decriminalized the woman. The hooker is now legal, but they go after the Johns and the
right, but she's still out on the streets.
yeah, and she's a legal prostitute. And you said you were
Right.
for that.
I said
for
under
the-
certain circumstances. I said under certain circumstances, but we were particularly talking about the brothels.
Okay.
I was saying that I don't
The
know
Netherlands-
specifically about the streetwalkers. I'm specifically talking, or I'm majority
the
specific.
Netherlands, Amsterdam, the Netherlands,
Mhm.
they have the red light district that you brought up.
Mhm.
So you said it would just be legal to be a streetwalker in the red light district. Okay. Homicides from Johns and pimps against prostitutes, where prostitution, the supply, the woman is legal to do her job. Homicides go up. There's more murders.
Okay, so arrest murderers, and then there will be less murderers.
Or we could arrest the things before we get to the point where we have to even worry about the murders. We stop that thing from happening in the first place.
So something bad might happen. So we should arrest this person so that something bad doesn't happen.
It's
Sounds like Minority Report to me.
no, you stop the precursor to the crime that leads to the crimes. That is also should be a crime.
Can you say that one more time, please?
You stop the lead up to the crime. Like it's like with drugs. If you want to reduce drug dealers and drug overdose, you make drugs illegal. You don't legalize drugs and
Right.
then go
So
after
okay,
drug dealers.
fair, but then you don't get arrested if you're driving on your way to the dealer. Even if you're on the way to your dealer, you have not done a crime yet. What you are proposing is arresting someone before they do the crime, so that the crime doesn't happen.
No, I'm saying the act of prostitution should be a crime in itself, and that crime leads to more greater crimes. So,
Well, do they? What are the gun laws like in Amsterdam?
I don't think they have any gun rights. I don't know.
So maybe if these women were allowed to carry firearms, then that
Oh,
might
yeah,
be a bigger factor than the fact that they are prostitutes. Can you prove that that's not the case?
Well, I could point to America. We have more gun deaths with guns legal. So I don't see why
What?
legalizing guns is going to reduce murders.
Because then they won't get murdered because they have a gun.
so
And
will
you
the
pull a gun
John.
and say, "Run away! Don't murder me."
A little 18-year-old girl,
Yeah.
scrawny little girl, pulls out her gun.
Yeah. Why do you think they call
and-
it the Great Equalizer? You think 18-year-old women can't carry guns? What are we talking about?
Okay, so you think the guy with the gun is going to lose to the girl with the gun?
I mean,
It's no
I would
different-
argue
it's no
that
different than
neither of them would
fists.
be likely to try as much, knowing that there are guns in the equation. That's
no-
why the Second Amendment is a good thing. We want that level of threat there, so that people won't while out.
I agree.
That's exactly the point.
Yeah,
so
I
why-
agree. Guns should be legal.
So
but I'm
again,
saying,
can you prove that the murder rate is not more connected to the gun laws than it is the prostitution laws?
yes, in Nevada, where prostitution is decriminalized in certain counties, and they have the right to carry guns, there's more murders of prostitutes.
Then wait, then where?
Than in places where they have
Might that be because they have more prostitutes because it's legal?
they have more prostitutes in Vegas, and it's not legal in Vegas. Which goes to my other
you're
point.
Jumping around it, but I don't. Can you give me your bottom line here? I promise I'm not trying to play stupid.
I'm saying
Maybe
if
I'm
they
just dumb.
when they legalize supply, when they legalize the women being hookers, and they have brothels, murders go up of prostitutes. Now you
Again,
can say that's because there's more prostitutes.
I'm just throwing that out there. Again, that's a correlation. Unless you can prove a causation, then just because two things happen doesn't mean that they're caused by each other. Like it could also be the fact that, you know, you were talking about oh no, that was a different thing, but it could be related to the fact that people who don't live in the area are in Vegas a lot more often than people seeing prostitutes in other areas. Correlation does not equal causation.
Okay.
So you can't give me the murder thing. I mean, if you can prove it, then I'm willing to. I mean, I just conceded on a debate where I got $100 on Saturday because I was like, ah, damn, you got me. But
I don't know why you
think,
can. I don't know why you could see it. You should have just stuck it out. But
I
anyway.
was too tired, man. I was too tired. I had it. As soon as that, but you know, whatever.
Okay. So we have brothels in Nevada, but there's still a bunch of illegal prostitutes working the strip in Vegas because they like you're saying, we regulate it where, for example, in Nevada, they can only have brothels in towns with less than 700,000 people. So all the brothels are like out in the desert. You got to drive really far to get them. They're in the middle of nowhere. But the majority of the prostitutes,
Down the strip, but, yeah, sorry.
Well, it's illegal on the strip, and that's where the majority of the prostitutes go. They escort and hook on the strip because there's more money there. And that was my point, to say, just because you regulate it and you say it's going to be legal as long as you're in this brothel and we have all these regulations and we do all these tests, prostitution increases, but they go where they do it illegally. So you still have the dual economy. You still have to arrest people who are doing prostitution.
I don't think that, again, I think you're appealing to a correlation. I don't think that what you're saying is caused by the fact that it's legalized. I think there are other factors, like I was bringing up, that people who have no ties to the community, there's way more people who are going to engage in prostitution in Vegas or Reno that have no ties to the community than in bumfuck whatever. So yeah, I'm asking you to prove a causal factor.
I'm not saying that legalizing it caused it. All I'm saying is that by somewhat legalizing and decriminalizing it and regulating it in Nevada, the numbers of prostitutes increases, and most of them are doing it illegally. So they're still getting arrested anyway. So when is it okay for
I'm fine with that. If you're breaking the law, then I'm fine with you being arrested. Okay. So what about the non-aggression principle? What about it?
When is it okay for law enforcement to aggress on somebody and arrest them? When they're breaking the law, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So where's the problem with keeping prostitution illegal? If it's not like what is it? Is it bodily autonomy? It's about my freedoms. You don't want to give Big Daddy government too much power, but you're willing to
all the above. There you go. Dilly.
Yeah, but that doesn't make sense because you're still okay with arresting illegal prostitutes. You just don't want to arrest the legal ones.
And that's like saying, oh, so you want to let people drink alcohol, but you just want to arrest the ones that are driving drunk. Yeah, that's why we have the regulations, so that when people are going to do it, and again, of course, people are going to break the law. People are going to break whatever regulations. But when we think about speed limits, we have speed limits, right? And most people drive over the speed limit. But do you think that on average, a car is going to be driving faster in a 25-mile-an-hour zone or a 55-mile-an-hour zone? Even if they're both speeding, which is likely to be faster?
Which is likely to be more over the speed limit?
No, which car is likely to be traveling at a faster speed? A car in a 25-mile-an-hour zone or a car in a 55-mile-an-hour zone?
The car in the 55-mile-per-hour zone.
Okay, but people can still speed, right?
Yes.
So why do we have a speed limit?
Because
why do we have stop signs? People run through stop signs, right?
Yeah, we have laws. Would you say we should just?
So what I'm saying is that these regulations, even if these regulations are not 100% perfect, that there are no accidents, there's no people running red lights, there's no people speeding, then the fact that they exist, there's a cultural element that you don't want to be going 55 in a 25.
Yeah, I'm fine with regulation. I'm fine with keeping it all illegal, and then maybe you could regulate.
You're just fine with it all.
No, making it illegal is regulation.
It's regulating. It means taking away, is taking away government prohibition. I don't know how you're saying that the government letting you do something more is more prohibitive than the government saying you can't do it. How can you explain that to me?
You're letting certain people do it,
Hmm.
which drives up the demand for said thing.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so then more people want to get into that business, but then there's still illegal people doing it, and you're still arresting them. Why wouldn't you just keep it all illegal to add more shame and more stigmatization to it so that less people are likely to do it? So now you're arresting less people.
Because then there becomes a counterculture around it. Now it's not just some shady thing. Now it's like, oh, we're part of the club. Where we going to that? I mean, not super proud of it, but I was a drug addict in my 20s. There was a community aspect of it, and so when we were all hitting up the plug and all these types of things that were isolating from normal culture, that became our identity, and we started to appreciate those things, and that is not good. Whereas if these drugs were legal, let's just even talk about cannabis, because I mean, I still smoke, but I don't do all that other stuff. But if at the time cannabis was legal in New Jersey, I highly, highly, highly doubt I would have gotten into the harder drugs. And even if I did, there is no way that it would have been as deep as I got.
So
because there's more to it than just the drug, and I think the same thing applies to prostitution.
because it's cooler to do it when it's illegal.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be less cool to do it. I don't think that's how it works with OnlyFans. I don't think that's how it works with pornography. I don't think that's how it works with pot. I think more people probably smoke pot now than when it was illegal.
Yeah, but
Now they say less young
right.
people are getting into it at earlier ages.
Exactly.
I've seen
So
conflicting studies on that. But
Right. So that's why I brought up I know you didn't go down this road, but it illustrates the point about the sex trafficking thing. That yes, you see an increase of numbers of sex trafficking. What do they call them? Instant inflows or something, which isn't an individual person. It's like a whole thing, but that is only one factor. So you see more people being trafficked, still under the definition of hey, you want to come back to my place? I live 10 minutes away, and it happens to be over state lines. That's technically sex trafficking. Yes, you will see more of those instances, but you see lower instances of people getting hurt. You see lower instances of all the diseases. You see lower instances of people being so deep in the life that they are just that degenerate. Versus, as I brought up before, the situation where you have the Gooner kid versus once a week he goes to the brothel, and you agreed that the second is preferable.
yeah, but you also talked about some places we're going to do this. It's not going to be a federal thing. So you're talking about a city could decide to do this, or a state could decide to do this. You would have to do it federally, because in America you can just cross state lines whenever you want. So what you just said, yeah, if you legalize it in one state, then people are just going to go into that state to do it. So you'd have to do it.
Okay.
It would have to be a
But
federal
again,
thing in America.
That's only a problem when it is on the black market.
Doing
if people
these-
are going in, that's what I was going to say about the cannabis. Like, okay, yes, more people are doing it, but they're not getting laced stuff. They're not getting they're not getting robbed because
That's not
they're
true.
waiting on the plug. Well,
China-
I mean, yeah, you're right. A lot of a lot of people.
They
still
found
use the black market,
crazy
but-
chemicals in the carts because China's producing those cartridges.
Right, but those are not legal here. Those are illegal. The Curaleaf carts, those
The cartridges that they
tested-
sell in the
yes,
in the pot
yes,
shops
the ones,
aren't legal?
Yes, no, the ones from China that have the vitamin E that blow up. Trust me, bro. Yeah, I know what I'm talking about on this one.
Yeah, I do
It
too.
is not just the carts. It is
Yeah,
the
I
fact
do
that
too.
Chinese
Okay.
made things that are illegal. They were illegally sold to American distributors that had vitamin E in it. And so when you hit the button and it heats up the vitamin E, then it explodes. That has nothing to do with a standard 510 cart.
Anyway, I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about in Maine and in Oklahoma, where the
Okay,
Chinese
so then can you
snakeheads
acknowledge
are running
can you
pot
acknowledge what I'm
farms.
saying though about the fact that even though there are more people engaging in cannabis, the activity of engaging in cannabis itself, if only because you don't have to use the black market, is safer. You could walk into a dispensary where you know that at least the government, I mean, as much as you trust the
No,
government, at
because-
least the government has regulated this.
No, because when I want the best food, I go to the local butcher. I don't go to the
Tell me
grocery
you've
store.
never. Oh
I don't-
man, tell me you never hit
I
up the
don't- I
plug.
don't get
without
the
telling me you never hit up the plug.
I don't get the. I don't think this guy knows me very well, but
Then what are you talking
when
about, bro?
when I want the
You've
food,
never been in a shady area waiting in your car for an hour and a half. And a dude said, "I'll be there in 10 minutes," and then a bunch of people
No,
are
my
walking by
point
and you get
is-
held up. That's never happened to you.
when I want the cleanest,
That's
best
never happened to
product,
you?
I go to the
Why are
local
you?
guy.
Am I here? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
I thought I
hear
just
you.
asked a question.
Yeah,
So has that ever happened
Well,
to you?
I was answering your last question. I guess you didn't understand what I was saying. When I want the cleanest, best product, I go to the farmer who I know, or I go to the butcher who I know to get the meat. I don't want the GMO.
Is that meat
pack-
legal or illegal?
Yeah, because the government doesn't put nothing
Is
in the
that
food.
meat
They don't put
legal
no
or
chemicals.
illegal? Is that
Huh?
meat legal or illegal?
If he's, I don't know, maybe he's not following all the FDA restrictions or something, but he happens to have a cow, I'll go to the butcher. But it doesn't make a, what's the difference?
The point is that we're talking about black market versus not black market. So all you're talking about is a farmer's market versus Walmart. That's not the same thing. That's not what
Okay.
we're talking about. We're talking about the black market where it is illegal versus the clean market.
And in
where
the
you are
black
allowed
market,
to
in
do
this
it, but
case,
there are
we're talking
restrictions.
about the supply is young girls,
Mhm.
and their STI rates aren't going down. They just lose their job at the brothel
young
when they get an
adult
STI.
girls who
Their
have the
abuse rates
who
don't
have
go
the
down.
agency to make any decision that they want, like any other adult, right?
And the majority of the girls who are trafficked
Right?
in legal sex work.
Well, again, then we need to dig into what exactly do you mean by trafficked? Do they mean, hey, come on over? Oh, you don't have a car? I'll pick you up. That's sex trafficking, bro. That's what I'm talking about. So maybe the number of instances of people getting a ride over state lines to start an OF is going up. But that doesn't mean that more people are being harmed. And I've made the argument that all of the numbers with the STDs would likely, I'm not even saying I know for sure, would likely go down because of these regulations.
Okay. Are we done?
Yeah, I was gonna let you answer
okay.
if you wanted there.
Yeah.
I,
Give you the last word.
All right, all right.
No, I'm good.
So that
Appreciate you,
will
brother.
conclude the open floor portion. We are going to get into the closing statements now. Just a couple reminders for the chat. If you want to find both the debaters, they are in the description of this live. So make sure you go over there, sub up to both of them. They're both streaming live right now. Go show them some support, okay? Also, after the closing statements, we're going to get into the 30-minute Q&A. If you want to make sure it's only 30 minutes, so if you want to make sure your question gets answered first, send it through super chat. And I see we don't have too many, but we do have questions in the Q&A. So yeah, like I said,
Brokey's in the chat tonight. God damn, we all struggling.
So go ahead and get your questions in before the well, sooner the better anyways. But with that, the way I do it, I like where one person has the first word and the other person has the last word. So, Indian Jesus, you had the first word tonight, so you're gonna go first with closing statements, and that'll give JS the last word. So let me get your timer up here, and whenever you're ready for your closing statement, I will start the timer up with your voice. And again, thank you for being here.
So yeah, I'm just going to go through my opening statement again. I was arguing that the practice should be illegal. Again, legality does not equal morality. I think mostly what was made were either moral arguments or harm arguments that I had been able to address. It's not about prostitutes being good or bad or what people should or should not be doing. It is about the governmental system and the legal process. Again, I agree. It's degenerate. So it's bad. That doesn't mean that bad should be illegal. We should legalize it not because of virtue, but because prohibition is objectively more harmful than legalization with regulation. I am not arguing that anyone should be able to sell their body in any manner they please, full stop. As my opponent tried to frame it, I'm specifically saying that prohibiting this activity has shown, just like alcohol, cannabis, and guns, that it does not work. Yeah, and I really need to hammer home this moral muscle thing. I think that I'm a little bit confused why not just you, JS, but Christians in general aren't a little bit more open to this notion that by relegating things to the government, we are atrophying as a society, as a community, our ability to do things on our own. I think this is just another step in that. And okay, maybe I was wrong about Christianity and that it would dictate that it would be illegal, but based on the ethical values, whether it is legal or not, I would expect that if you're a pious Christian man, that you're not being a John, and if you're a pious Christian woman, that you are not prostituting yourself. Again, we both talked about other countries that do this, and they have mixed results in the sense that some things get worse, but other things get better. Again, my argument is that the calculus is that despite some things getting worse, there is more benefits. What else we got here? Again, yes, we can talk about how dangerous this and that is, but we have to dig into what these things actually mean. When we talk about murders in the Netherlands, then we have to understand the holistic idea of what it is that we're talking about. We can't just say because there is prostitution and more murders that prostitution is the cause. And again, there are mixed studies, but there are plenty of studies that say that it is a good trade. Yeah, again, the guy that lives 10 minutes over the state line, that is considered sex trafficking. So all of these numbers are highly inflated by things that I don't think anybody would think are wrong or harmful. Yeah, I mean, I think between the cigarettes argument and the car argument, where we've seen that without prohibition, cigarettes smoking has gone way down, and we saw that before vapes got popular. And then even though people break the law, even though people don't necessarily follow the speed limit, the fact that there is a speed limit, aka a regulation, does affect how people behave. You're not going to often see someone driving 55 miles an hour in a 25-mile-an-hour zone, and that's not because they just decided to. It's because they're influenced. Even if they're going 30, 35, then they're going 35, not 55. Yeah, and again, I mean, maybe we don't like Benjamin Franklin, but they that can give up essential liberty to obtain a little bit of temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. Say no to daddy government being the arbiter of morality. I'm live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Come through, and I concede my time, JS. Thank you for the debate, sir.
All right. Thank you for that closing statement. And with that, we'll hand the mic over to JS Urban Adventures for your closing statement. Whenever you're ready, I'll start the timer up with your voice.
All right. So I don't think you defeated my cost benefit analysis. Is my voice coming through? Oh, okay. Oh, okay, cool. Something changed.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Anyway, I don't think you defeated the cost benefit analysis. I showed you from a utilitarian perspective all of the harm and all of the aggression that would still happen if we legalized prostitution. It doesn't quell any of these issues. Trafficking, a lot of those women who are trafficked are young girls, and then they get brought in and they get groomed into sex work. And from a Christian perspective, yes, we do believe in government. We do believe in hierarchies. We believe in patriarchies. We believe in authority. That's what God is. He's an authority. He's a lawgiver. He gives us laws based on morality, and we do legislate morality. And we use God's commands to make those laws, and we punish the wrongdoer. Speed limits are not regulations. It's illegal to go over the speed limit. So I think a lot of people have some sort of confusion between what decriminalization is and regulation and legalization. I would argue that it's better to just keep it illegal. And then if there was I can't see any circumstance where we should legalize at all prostitution, but we were talking about we kind of got onto the drugs thing, and I guess it kind of ties into this because it's, I'm trying to prohibit something. We have a carve out for when it's legal to have drugs, you get a prescription, but it's still illegal to have those drugs. Those drugs are still illegal. Speed limits are still illegal, even though people break them. murder, theft, all these things, we keep them illegal and people still do them. Maybe you would say they cause harm to others. Well, I demonstrated you harms that are caused to men, to women, to the prostitutes, even to the Johns. We didn't even talk about rolling a John. I was talking to a lady of the streets recently, and she was telling me about rolling a John, where they robbed the John. But anyway, I'm almost done. I'll keep my my closing short. This doesn't make sense for a libertarian. It leads to more government overreach. It leads to more profit for the government and bigger government. It doesn't make sense to a utilitarian because there's no utility in somebody getting their rocks off in a hooker. You didn't demonstrate any benefits. You said you defeated my cost benefit analysis. You didn't tell me any benefits. The only benefit was people want to be able to do stuff that we want to be able to do. Why can't we do it? That's not a benefit. What is the benefit to prostitution? Girls get money from selling their body, and what? Guys get a nut? That's the only benefit I see to this. Unless you're going to argue that taxation, the government can make more money, which again, that doesn't seem, that doesn't lead to more liberty. That leads to less liberty. Do I have any other notes or anything? Brothels don't improve these things. They increase the amount of prostitution. They increase the amount of murders. They increase the amount of harm to the women. I don't know. I'm not great at closings, but thank you guys. Thank you, Indian Jeebus. I don't like your name, Lutch.
That's why I put. Yeah, that's why I put Lutch there for
Yeah.
anybody who doesn't. Yeah.
Thank you for hosting, Easy. This was fun, but I'll see in my time get into the open panel.
All righty. Thank you for that opening statement as well. Or closing statement, sorry.
Get it together, bro.
With that, we are going to get into the 30-minute Q&A. But before we get into the 30-minute Q&A, I always like to ask both debaters a question that kind of challenges each of their sides. Give them one last, the last throw at the argument. So we'll start with the pro legalization side. What would legalizing, sorry, that's how I should ask it. Sorry. How could legalizing prostitution improve the safety? Because I heard this mentioned, like the safety conditions and like the health conditions for the sex workers. How would legalizing it do that?
So I mean, we can compare it to like the backyard brawls versus the UFC. So there because of the fact that there's no regulation there, you can get really fucked up. Whereas in the UFC, you got to wear gloves. There's certain rules. I mean, some of them are dumb, but I think this would be the same thing. It's not saying that if you're in the UFC, you're not going to get hurt. You're signing up for that. And so if you're going to be a prostitute, you're not going to say, "Oh, I'm not going to lose my soul." You're signing up for that. But I think if we have these things, we can have less murders, less STDs, less violence, less robbery, less theft. I think those are all benefits. JS, I don't know what you were listening to, but unless you disagree, any of those are benefits. That would be my answer.
All right, JS, you have something for that?
Well, no, because first off, that's not what we see with the legalized brothels. We don't see a reduction in those things. And then as far as the UFC, you're more likely to get killed in one punch by a world-class athlete who gets paid a lot of money to be in the UFC.
How many deaths have been in the UFC?
I don't think any, but you're more likely to get killed by John Jones punching you in the face than you are in a backyard brawl. How many deaths have there been in backyard brawls?
I don't know the exact number, but there definitely has been. What was that guy? I mean, backyard brawl was way long ago, but there has been deaths.
There's never been a death on street beefs.
Okay, so that's like saying there's never been someone who died in Pride. So even though people died in the UFC, which they didn't, then like you see what I mean? I'm saying that what I'm proposing is not that we magically fix the problem, then it's over. I'm saying that this is something that cannot
Nobody
be fixed,
thinks that.
and that well, I mean, you seem to think that prohibition is the answer, but I'm saying that instead of trying to prohibit something that clearly cannot be prohibited, we should lean into it and do as much harm reduction as we can.
We've kept prostitution legal, as far as or illegal in America. I don't know when it became illegal, but for quite a while, and it seems to work pretty well.
Alrighty. And the next question for the pro legalization side would be do you think legalizing prostitution could reduce human trafficking by bringing this industry under regulation? Because this seems to be a high problem within prostitution.
So as for me, do I think legalizing it would
Oh,
decrease trafficking?
No, that one's for Indian Jesus as well. Like, so let
Oh.
him answer first, and then if you have anything to say to it.
So, sorry, I was in the chat. What'd you say?
No worries, no worries. Do you think legalizing prostitution could reduce human trafficking, and how? So, because
No.
this seems to be like one of like the biggest problems with within that industry or whatever.
So I'd say
you wanna
no.
call it.
It would not. It would increase sex trafficking, but as I stated, it would increase instances of sex trafficking that we would all agree is not a big deal. Like the guy who's like, "Oh, I live 10 minutes over the border." I don't think there would be an increase of, Maxwell-esque, grabbing up girls off the streets and stuff like that. I don't think that would. But because of the definition of what human trafficking is, yes, there would be more human trafficking, but because there'd be less murder, theft, violence, and all those other things, then the calculus works out for legalization.
Yeah,
All
and
right. And you have anything for that? Yeah.
yeah, I think a lot of it is Maxwell level stuff. They're bringing girls over the border in crazy numbers, young girls, and then they put them into legal sex work in America. And in America, we have states' rights. If you cross over the border, if we have prostitution legal in one state and you cross over the border into that state, that is sex trafficking. And I would have a problem with that. But if we did it federally, I definitely don't want them crossing from Mexico and Canada and however the heck they get here. I don't want that. So I would have a problem with that. I know you're trying to minimalize it, but
No, I'm not trying to minimize it. I specifically, that's why I started saying no. I do not think it would make it worse. I don't think. No, I'm not
It's
saying
just
it wouldn't
trafficking
make
we
it
wouldn't
worse.
care
So yes,
about.
it would make it worse. But yeah, it's so again. I mean, like the lover boy thing. So the fact that oh, I made you fall in love with me, and now I'm getting you to move, and you decide on your own from my influence that you want to be a cam girl. That is sex trafficking. But if that's the type of thing that's going to increase, and murders and thefts and STDs and all these things are going down, then yes, I think that is better. I think it is better for a girl to be technically, if this is what we are calling trafficked, being brought into a different state on her own will, versus her being beaten up or murdered or stolen from or getting an STD or any of these other things.
What happens when she goes to another country with a lover boy and he takes her passport away and then he won't let her leave?
I mean, that's bad. I mean,
Okay, so that would be bad.
yeah,
That
bad
could-
things happen. I'm not proposing a solution to prostitution. That has never been what I've said. Prostitution is going to be bad. Degeneracy is going to be bad. Sex trafficking is going to exist. We can't get rid of those things.
But it's not
I
bad
think-
enough. It's not bad enough to make it illegal.
No, it is bad. It's bad enough that the murder, the murder, the theft, all those things that are high enough that it is a trade-off for the lower level of sex trafficking that we are talking about.
Alrighty. So then for the anti-legalization side, so first off, because it was mentioned a few times, like just based off like the utilitarian stance, like you've shown how the negative effects, it's a reason to not legalize it. So what would be the biggest negative effect when it comes to legalizing prostitution that you think we definitely have to stay away from?
Just the demoralization of society. Like it's a combination of all of them, but mainly it's to the young men and the young women, to our daughters and our sons in society growing up in this world where they see legal brothels on the corner. They're encouraged, the boys are encouraged to engage in this, and the women are encouraged to get involved in it and become prostitutes, it's just demoralizing to society. It destroys our future generations.
Right, and I mean,
did
again,
you-
if you think that anything that could potentially be bad should be illegal, I okay, that's a position, but I don't think that's very American. I don't think a lot of people would really agree with that. So I mean that, like, yes, you are 1000% consistent that I think this is bad, so it should be illegal. I agree that you have not contradicted yourself. I am saying that I don't think that is a legal argument.
I think the vast majority of Americans don't want prostitution to be legalized. So I don't know
Okay.
why it's un-American to have laws.
Didn't say it was un-American to have laws, but nice little bait and switch you did there.
Alrighty, and then one more for the anti-legalization side. If prostitution were legalized, do you think the government would be able to prevent these things like human trafficking, or do you think that's what's gonna increase it and make it worse?
No, I think everything the government, and this would have to be federal, like I said, in America. You can try these experiments in small, homogenous, low population nations like the Netherlands or Portugal and stuff like that, where there's countries, they're their own country, and you can't just come and go as you please. In America, this wouldn't work on a state by state basis. It would have to be a federal thing. And once the federal government gets involved with regulation and
They're
legalizing
already
stuff,
involved.
they make more money off of tax income, they get bigger, and they abuse that power. So I'm for less government.
This is less government.
It's not. No.
Prohibition and letting some is less government. That is my entire argument.
Yeah, and I'm saying that it's the opposite. You're actually increasing government by increasing tax revenue, increasing things that they need to control and regulate, different branches, which is why we saw the ATF come up with alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. Once alcohol is legal, they make a 3-letter agency to regulate alcohol, and they profit off of alcohol, and then they regulate it. So they regulate degeneracy, and they profit off of degeneracy.
Mm-hmm. And we all decided that was better
Which
than
gives the government more
degeneracy just
power.
running wild.
It
So we
makes
can
it-
have degeneracy regulated or degeneracy running wild. Those are the options, because no degeneracy is not an option for humans.
It's much
So I'm-
easier to just
I'm
have a
arguing for
law to
less-
say don't do this and then arrest the criminal when they break the law. Instead of saying let's legalize it, let's regulate it, let's profit off of it, let's set up all sorts of organizations and NGOs that fund these things, and that leads to bigger government. A law against something isn't going to grow the government. A law where the government controls something leads to bigger government.
Disagree.
Alrighty. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna move into the 30-minute Q&A portion here. Super chats will take priority. I don't see too many there though, so your Q&A questions should we should get to them, unless some people start sending in some super chats. They'll bump themselves up the list. Also, I had a poll in during the debate. It's should we legalize prostitution? We had 141 votes. 76% said no. 14% said yes, and 10% said I thought this was about flat Earth. So I'm glad. I'm glad.
We got to do the straw poll, though. We got to see how many people change their mind. But my brilliant argumentation.
Well, that's what I'm. Yeah. So the next poll I'm putting in for the chat is who gave you the best arguments tonight. So I put that poll in right now. If you don't see
None.
it,
Who
go
do you
ahead
agree
and-
with more?
Yeah, exactly. Who gave you the best arguments tonight? So go ahead and put it in there. Put your vote in. But let's get this started up here.
Don't vote for yourself. We're just going to cancel each other out.
So at the starting here, we had a new member, Elizabeth, and not Voltaire. Okay, thank you very much. Cap'n Planet sent in $10 just to say nothing, just show some support. Thank you, Cap'n Planet. Rev Russ comes in with $5. Says, when flesh becomes a common commodity, can selling it ever truly be called freedom? Or is it simply the sanctification of slavery? Food for thought. Do you guys want to answer that one?
Yeah,
Flesh
there's a.
becomes a common.
I think there's
Yeah.
probably more to him. No, you go ahead first.
Okay, so when flesh becomes a common commodity, can selling it ever truly be called freedom, or is it simply a sanctification of slavery? Food for thought. I mean, you could definitely think about it that way, but that's not a legal argument either. And so you could say that technically, if you're allowed to do this, but you're a slave to your choices. Okay, I mean, you might make that argument. That's not how we make laws, though.
Yeah, and I would say I agree with what he's saying there. That shoot, what was I about to say? Oh man. Oh, I was talking about that most of the women who get into it, a lot of the women who get into it is because they're poor, they're desperate, they need money. And so when you start doing this, you see how fast that money comes. A lot of these women, they regret it. They tell me that when they first went into it, they knew it was wrong. They felt like it was wrong, but they needed the money, and it's fast, easy money. And
but
and
have
then-
you never heard?
but then they normalize it in their head. So they
Sure,
just
but-
become a slave to their justification and the money.
So, but I mean, have you not heard this same exact thing with people who are in like super high corporate world where it sucks the soul out of them, and they quit and they go and do something else, and they're like, oh my god, I'm so much happier because that was a soul sucking job. That's how it works. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you work outside of this, but like, work ain't supposed to be fun. That's why they pay you for it. I mean, it's just labor.
Yeah, we're comparing roofing
But it's
to
yucky.
we're comparing roofing to selling your body.
Mhm.
Like literally
Mhm.
somebody penetrating into a woman's body. There's also something deeper
Fall
to
off
that.
a roof and hurt yourself, or put a nail gun through your foot. I understand the emotional difference between the two things, but I don't think you presented a legal or a principled stance on why they are different things. In both cases, you're putting your body in harm's way for the exchange of money, and that is capitalism. So, I mean, unless we're getting into being commies, which I definitely don't want to do, then
Everybody-
I mean, it's capitalism, baby, free market, free market.
Everybody always thinks any sort of authority is communism.
I mean, if you're stamping on the trampling on the free market,
Alrighty. Next one we got here. $2 comes in from Guam Tech, says, from the Indian Jesus crew. Thank you, Guam
thank you, sir.
Tech, for the $2 super chat. Appreciate that big time. We got $5 comes in from Kokomo. The government should provide prosties for free to single people, 1 voucher per month.
No, that's going too far. That would be the type of thing that JS was accusing of celebrating and normalizing. I will say that, oh, sure, if just
That
by
would be
making something-
communism.
That's why, yeah. I'm consistent. No communism, but
Fair.
that's the kind of thing where I think, okay, now we're celebrating something being available is kind of in. I think of it in the same way as guns are not good or bad. They are tools, and people can use them appropriately or inappropriately. I don't think prostitution is necessarily bad. People can overdo it, or some people, maybe they don't have the types of problems that somebody who has a more moral mindset would have. I mean, it's sad, but it's true.
Is the penis or the vagina the tool in this one? I'm trying to figure out. I'm
The
just-
woman is the tool. Oh.
The woman is the supply, and the man is the demand.
Shit. We got $5 comes in from Guam Tech, says, women selling themselves shouldn't be illegal. It should be unthinkable. Ron Paul, probably.
Exactly.
Okay. But
What
it
do you
is
say?
but it is very thinkable. A lot of people would do it if it was legal. So I just want to eat people. Why can't we just legalize cannibalism? Why are you restricting my freedoms?
Because I don't like it. It's icky to me. I don't like it. So
And I
you
don't
shouldn't
like
be allowed to do it.
exactly. You know, that was my point. Is that
Yeah, I know. That's the joke, bro.
no? That's my point from doing an internal critique of your worldview, of the utilitarian worldview. You don't like cannibalism because it's icky.
No, what did I say? Why are you going to strong me like that?
You just said it.
that I said. What did I say? What did I say?
You just said it.
So that's the only thing. That's the only reason I don't like cannibalism. That's
So
what I said tonight.
You said something about bodies. We value bodies, but we don't
Uh-huh.
value.
Do you disagree with
but
that?
we don't.
Do you disagree that we value the human body?
Yeah, but we don't value the
You
bodies
do
of
disagree?
young women. But we don't. No, I do. Say
Okay,
we
but they
value
have
the human
agency.
body.
A dead person doesn't have agency. A dead, alive 18-year-old. You keep saying they're young girls. Yes, they are young girls, but legally, in the context that we're talking about, they are adults. So they are allowed to choose whatever the fuck they
Right.
want to do,
So
even
while
if
they're
it hurts them.
while they're
That's
alive,
how America works.
while they're alive, could they sell themselves to the local human butcher?
Sure, why not?
Okay, cool. Well, you're consistent. Legalizing cannibalism now.
All righty. And then we got a gifted membership from Frankie. Thank you very much, Frankie. I appreciate that big time. And then that's it for super chat questions. So let's go over here to the Q&A. Oh, wait a minute. We got another one. Bumped himself up. Indian Jesus. It seems to come down to people do it already, so may as well legalize it. Does that mean if enough people committed SA or murder, we should just legalize it so we can better regulate it?
No, because of the same reason that we wouldn't legal cannibalism. There is already other factors. The harm is not the only factor that comes in. We have social norms. We have cultural things that, I mean, maybe you disagree, but I think those cultural rituals, traditions, communal points are important in a society. So yes, if we want to strip the American nation down to just the laws themselves, then yeah, if enough people are doing it, then why not? But that doesn't, and I mean, I'm being facetious there, but like obviously there was someone being getting direct harm, and of course SA and murder are not consented to, and I mean, the argument could be made that if you want to end yourself, then you should be able to do it. I'm not personally taking a position there, but the argument is there based on the same principles that I'm saying today. So it's not the same thing. It's not just people already do it, so may as well legalize it. It's people already do it, so may as well legalize it, because that will make it better. That will make the world better. Will making SA or murder legal because people do it make the world better? No. And so again, JS is arguing that neither makes it better, but you guys can decide.
Well, and again, we don't make laws for moral people. We make laws for the criminals and the immoral people who are going to break the laws. So, yeah.
Alrighty. And so for now, that's it for super chats. Let me see here.
Syntax. And I ain't talking
this
about
very top question's blocked out for me. I don't know why it's doing that. It's weird. So okay, here in New Zealand, prostitution is legal under the guise of reducing harm. I just checked for escorts, and the majority of them are young Southeast Asian girls that have obviously been trafficked over.
Yeah, it increases trafficking.
But again, are we talking about Southeastern Asian girls who decided, oh, wow, this is an opportunity for me. I can go to New Zealand and make money? Or were they snatched up in a van? That is specifically why I brought up the definition of sex trafficking. So fine, yes, perhaps they were sex trafficked. Perhaps they were snatched off the street. I don't know. But that is why we need to be able to, before we are making declarative statements on what is and is not happening, we need to understand that. So I don't know.
All right.
No, I
you
have
have
no. Go ahead. No,
okay. $2 comes in from Guam Tech. Would legal robot pro hose be scapegoat for JS?
Would legal wait, so instead of
Like robot
if,
prostitutes.
yeah, if he was saying instead of legalizing prostitution for women, if we had robot prostitutes, would that be better? I think that would be better. I don't think that would be. I wouldn't want that. I'm against robot sex, so no, it wouldn't scapegoat me. But utility wise, I think that would be better than women. But but no,
why do you say
don't
that? I'm
have
not even.
sex with robots.
I'm not necessarily disagreeing. I'm just curious as to why you say that.
Because a robot can't get an STD. A robot is built. It's not trafficked. A robot can't be raped or abused or beaten. Where it's gonna. The John can't get. Well, hopefully the robot's not programmed to rob the John.
It gets stuck in the machine.
That would be a danger, but
Interesting. Yeah, I mean that makes sense. Just curious.
yeah. So if we could come with a compromise and find some middle ground here, let's not legalize prostitution. Let's get robot prostitutes.
Done. Dilly. Let's go.
You'd be good for that.
I don't
but
engage
you'd
in
be
that in pro-ho behavior.
Yeah, and I'm actually joking. I don't think we should have robot prostitutes.
No, I know, yeah. Yeah, I actually like I would have like just a little like quick follow up like for Indian Jesus on this question. Like, what if they started making like children robots though? Like they made the robots to look like children.
What if they did? They already started doing that.
Oh, that's haram.
Yeah, like would you like be like what you would say this should be illegal, right? Indian Jesus,
Yeah.
like making
Yeah.
kid
absolutely.
robot.
They're not
Any type of-
robots, but they're making dolls. They're making dolls that are like
Yeah, any type of depiction of a not of age person is a no-go for me. And
Yeah.
I get the argument.
I was just
that-
wondering because like JS brought the whole thing like robots can't like they're not a sentient being, so like they don't have like there's no consent, there's no actual abuse, blah blah blah, right? So like,
Mhm.
but then you bring up the like depiction of a child and like shit like, does that cross that line now?
Mhm. For me, I mean, maybe you ask Nambla, but for me, hell no.
if a big part of our like freedoms and morality and all that stuff comes from our agency, do you think animals have agency?
Yep.
Okay, never mind then.
Well, I mean, some do, some don't. I mean,
I know where you were
What-
going with that.
oh, you weren't about. Oh,
I think he was gonna ask
I'm
you
the
about
weird one. And
bestiality.
I'm the weird one. You're out here talking about. Oh my god. Twice actually.
Shit.
Twice. Well,
Oh, sorry. Do you have something to say there?
yeah. So the you guys the previous version of the like Andrew Wilson versus 5, that was Andrew Wilson and then Rachel did a couple things. It was supposed to be Andrew Wilson versus 5 atheists, but then he came in with a bunch of political prompts, and I was like, bro, I already agree with you, and we only had 5 minutes. So I just try to figure out
Yeah.
something to do, and not a great format, but
Yeah, it seems
Hey.
like you seemed lost, but that makes sense.
was,
if you were
'cause I was like,
expecting.
yeah, and we didn't know the prompts beforehand, so it's like immediately it's like his last one was degeneracy should not be promoted. Like, wait, so you just think that because I'm an atheist that I think things that I think are bad should be promoted? Like, what? How does that make sense? That is what I should have said for every single prompt. Why would you think that I would disagree with this just because I'm an atheist? I don't think Andrew understands the difference between an atheist and a leftist. Thank you for the question.
Okay.
Are you crazy?
All right. And okay, that's it for super chats right now. We'll go back to the Q&A here. Another one from Toe Knuckles. Funny name. Despite that, you would never say traffic girls would be a price to pay for a net positive.
Yeah,
I think that's to you, Indian Jesus, probably.
Yes, we would. So if we're saying that the number, again, if we use, I'm not saying this is what happens. I'm saying if it is the case that the instances of, hey, I live 10 minutes away, but it's across the state border, if that is going to go up, that is worth it to lower murder, RPA, theft, diseases, all these things. That is worth it. There is a calculus that has to be done. If there was an option where all good things with prostitution could happen, I would be for that. Unless I missed it, I don't think JS presented that. And if he did, I would have been like, you got me. But I don't think that exists. So yes, I do think it is a trade-off. No matter what, you're going to have trafficking. No matter what, you're going to have murder. You're going to have rape. You're going to have all these things. But with the legalization, you lower all of the more harmful things. And just because it's called sex trafficking, it doesn't mean it is. I mean, think about yourself. Would you rather be sex trafficked where you consent to go to a guy's house 10 minutes away? Or would you rather be paid or murdered or robbed or beat up or get syphilis or any of those things? I think most of you would rather consent to going on a date with somebody.
Yeah, you keep making these false dichotomies that like
it's not a false dichotomy because I'm not presenting it as the only thing. I'm saying comparing two things. I'm not saying there's only those two things. A false dichotomy is saying that there is a dichotomy. I never claimed that.
Would you rather?
They're just two different options.
If
I say do you like blue or red better, that's not a false dichotomy because there's other colors.
Would you rather your daughter get married and have children, or get trafficked and raped and get a STI and get abused?
The first one.
Okay. Yeah. So maybe we should just
see how neither of those are false dichotomies. A false dichotomy is saying there's only option A and option B. I never claimed that if you're in a situation, you definitely will get trafficked or you definitely will get murdered.
You did with the Gooner versus the prostitute. I said these are the only two options. You said yes.
Yeah, for a hypothetical. I'm not saying the only two options that exist. I'm asking which do you like better? Again, if I say do you like blue or red better, then green is not an answer just because it's your favorite color. I'm not asking about that. I'm asking your preferences when it comes to two things. That is not what a false dichotomy means. If I said there's only two colors, you have to pick only two colors in existence. There's red or blue. That would be a false dichotomy because there's other colors. But I didn't frame it that way. I'm asking your preference. Which one is better?
Okay. Real quick, we got member for 12 months, Wicked Wally. Don't worry, JS. We'll get you that Android 18. We all know you've always wanted.
Looks like that's the way we're going in society. So sad.
Shit. Thank you, Wicked Wally. For the next one here, we got in the Q&A. Rev Russ says, if legal, does it redefine sexual autonomy as a right to sell access to one's body, or does it redefine human dignity as something that can be commodified? Where's the line between freedom and exploitation?
That's a good question. I don't know off the top of my head. But we definitely could have standards based on what type of harm we're talking about and the situation of the individual situation. We will be able to determine. It's like asking where do you call it abuse in a relationship? Well, I mean it depends on the other details of the relationship. And so again, the fact that A and B are happening doesn't mean that those are the only relevant factors. So I don't know. It would depend on the woman, it depend on the dude, it depend on the place, it depend on the time, it depend on all of these things.
Alrighty. Next one we got here is from Toe Knuckles again. Thank you. This one's for Indian Jesus. If you can say cannibalism is bad because of culture, couldn't we just say straying from Christian ethics is bad because of culture?
Sure, you can say that, but I mean, you would have a hard time saying, therefore, we need to make it illegal, because there's a lot of things that are legal justifiably that stray from Christian values. And as a secular government, then that is not a legal justification to make a law. Christianity says, therefore, it should be legal. That's not how it works. So, I mean, I guess technically, yes, but.
All right. Did you have anything to say to that? What he said just now?
No, that's kind of what I was trying to demonstrate, is that if it just comes down to culture norms and preferences, we have to go to something higher to ground our morality and our system of laws. And if we're going to Christian culture for that, and Christians say prostitution bad, illegal, you get punished if you do it, then that's what we should do.
All right.
This is a funny
Next one, we got a super chat came in again, $2 from Are You Crazy? Thank you. JS, is sex a violent act?
He's just bringing up a hot take that I've made before. Sex is inherently a violent act.
Oh shit, here we go.
It also could be
I need to
loving.
save that. We need to save that for verbal combat. That's one to.
I mean, that's a good debate topic for a future debate.
I've recommended it on verbal combat. I don't know if I could do a 2-hour debate about that topic, but
Just because you're hammerjacking every girl you're with doesn't mean we all
That's what I'm
aren't
saying.
sensual. All right, I'm a sensual man.
there's still
okay?
you're stabbing her up. There's ripping and tearing involved. It's violent.
I mean, what if she's riding? No, I think that's crazy. I think that's crazy. It obviously can be.
You
But,
can lovingly commit violence.
Sure, but yes, but that doesn't mean that every time you have sex, it's violent.
All right. Hot takes. Let's go. Next one, we got a question here from Kyle Rollheiser. Says, which one was arguing for legalizing prostitution? If you a degen, raise your hand. I think they meant to say raise your hand.
It's rising. It is raising and rising. I mean, as I said in my opening, I've never engaged in that. I don't think it is a good thing, but I don't think that the laws of the country should be based on my personal preferences.
All right. Next one we have here says, it's from Guam Tech, says, to JS, would prostitutes who can afford private security be more safe and empowered?
Well, most of them have private security in the form of a pimp who they pay a percentage of their profits. So the pimp is their security. He sits outside and he waits for them. And most illegal prostitutes have security.
So fair enough. But then if I can adjust Guam Tech's question, if we're talking about security from a reputable security company, because I'm pretty sure that's what it means. So we're not talking about the pimp standing outside. We're talking about you've got do they need to be licensed? I'm sure you gotta have.
The problem is what happens is the girl doesn't want to pay a percentage of her money to the pimp or to the security agency, whoever's performing the security. They don't want to pay out.
Do women still have pimps like that? I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, OF is. I mean, why would you have a pimp if you're? I mean, maybe if you got grandfathered in because you're stuck because they got you on drugs or whatever.
That's
but
kind of different, but also they do have digital pimps on OF. There's managers who manage a lot of different OF. Most of the girls on OF are managed.
Okay, but then that goes back to stretching the definition.
That Nala Ray chick said
that's
she made
stretching the definition
she made
of
$4
pimp
million.
to more like a manager. So if you have a manager, then you're owned and you're their property. I mean, I don't disagree that there's an aspect of they have control over you, but I think it is a different thing to be somebody's property than to work for someone.
But what happens is they don't want to pay a cut of their money to that guy, so they go out and they do it on their own. They go out and do it on their own.
Well, there you go. I mean, exactly.
And what happens when they go out and do it on their own? They end up dead under a bridge somewhere. Yeah.
Choices. Life is about choices. If we only allow the good choices to be made, then people are not going to know how to make good choices. No choices will be made.
All right, and we got another super chat from Cap'n Planet for $5. Thank you. Says, did legalization of alcohol and weed raise or lower the users?
It raised it, but it did make it safer for each individual user to use these things. It is safer to get alcohol that it goes through, whatever thing, so that it's in a box that says 5% or whatever. It is safer to do that. It is safer to get a weed through a dispensary that has checks than just some dude down the street. I don't know about you guys, definitely early in my days, but I have bought a bag of oregano. So yes, the users go up, but you're smuggling in a premise that doing alcohol and smoking weed are inherently a bad thing, and I reject that claim. You would have to show me why those are bad things in order to say that because of the fact the number goes up, that it is bad. Yes, the numbers went up, but people are being saved. So why is that bad?
Yeah, when we did prohibition, the amount of daily drinkers dropped, and then when we ended prohibition, it went right back up to where it was before. We legalized weed. I've seen things that say that younger people smoke less weed, and I've seen things that say the
Yeah,
opposite.
but that's just because they're boring. They don't party. They don't go out. I'll give
But-
you that.
and there probably is something like mom and dad and grandma and grandpa are smoking pot now. That's lame. I don't want to do that.
Yeah,
But
but
as far as
so you're saying that legalizing things has made it uncool, so the youth don't want to do it. Is that what you're saying?
For that
Is
one
that-
example.
yes, because I believe that was my entire argument.
For that
Never.
one example for weed.
Yeah.
But and the quality thing, I'm still gonna go back to. I'll go to the local butcher or the local farmer rather than getting the packaged stuff from the grocery store. They put crap in it. We know the government does that with our food. Why would we not expect them to do it with the weed and the alcohol? They put sugar in the alcohol. They add a bunch of extra additives and colorings and dyes to it.
Yeah, what do you think they would do if there was no regulations, bro?
What do you think they're gonna do to the prostitutes?
Why can't you answer a question?
What if there was no regulation? What would they do?
Whatever they want, right?
Oh, I was answering this question, but what was your question?
My question is, you're saying they add all of these things in to the alcohol. And I'm saying, do you think it would be better or worse in terms of adding foreign things if we have, what is the FDA, the ATF, or whatever bodies regulate that? Do we think that if there was no regulation and you could just sell whatever the fuck you want, that people wouldn't be putting turpentine and shit? You ever heard of moonshine?
Yeah, moonshine's awesome.
Yeah, the one that you buy from the store that says moonshine on the bottle. Have you ever had real moonshine?
Yeah,
That's just
real
nasty.
moonshine is
Yeah.
awesome. What do you mean?
That's
Real moonshine
nasty.
tastes like water. It goes down like water. I'm from the
Kind of
south.
flex, bro. Yeah, I just take that
I'm from the
moonshine.
South.
Bro. It's like water. I tell you
like
what. Shout out to Abe.
All right, so we got. Oh shit, we got a raid too. Thank you, Abe, for the raid. I appreciate that big time. There we go. It was Shazzy's question that was blocked at the top. I just ended the poll and it made me be able to see it. How can someone called Jesus want 304s?
I don't. It has nothing to do with what my preference is. It has to do with the legal principle of how America works. Just because I don't engage in something, just because I don't like something, doesn't mean that is not a justification for it to be illegal. And if we see that there's going to be a reduction in harm because of the thing that I don't like done in a way that I'm not going to engage in, if I'm not going to engage in it anyway, why would I want it being done from other people in a worse way versus a better way?
Yeah,
All right.
Yeah, you guys keep going back to, well, there's going to be more of it.
he's a
Is it-
false
is it better?
Jesus, Shazzy. He's not a real Jesus.
The Indian Jesus, baby. But again, like, we have to compare the situations, and with all of those things, murders, robberies, all those things that I listed, if those are all going down and trafficking goes up by a little bit, and there is most of those instances are not actually what we think of when we're talking about sex trafficking, it's just going over the border, then yes, that is better. I don't understand how it's not. How is that not better?
All right.
It is, baby.
All righty. And I think that's it for the questions. Let me just make sure. Yeah, that's it for the Q&A there, that with only 30 seconds left, so perfect timing. And the poll, I ended it. It has 73 votes for who gave the best arguments tonight.
23, I'll take that.
JS Urban Adventures got 48%. Chat always wins, got 29%, and Indian Jesus got 23%.
I went up.
Again,
I went up. Straw poll. I won.
Yeah,
I went from 17 to 23. You went from
based
80 to
on-
79. Let's go.
Based on the swing, I guess. Yeah, but
the
not as
swing.
many
It's
people.
all, hey, I agree. The chat does always win. That's what we're here for. We're here for so dilly.
They do. That is true. With that though, that is going to wrap up the audience Q&A portion for tonight's debate. First off, huge thanks to everyone who sent in questions and showed support through super chats. Actually, let me make sure. I actually do think something else came in, and I just want to make sure. Oh yes, we got a $5 or $6 PayPal that says, "Sure, make it legal because people with bad intentions always follow the law." Did you want to respond to that?
Well, that goes back to the first one. Like, it sounds like you're saying, well, people are going to do it anyway, so let's just legalize it. Yeah, that's how you keep people safe.
Yeah. And he's only going to legalize it for the legal ones. There's still going to be illegal ones.
Yeah.
Still going to have a majority of prostitutes are still going to be illegal. He just wants to legalize a little bit of them.
No, I would just change the landscape. So all the ones that are doing it what we would then consider illegal would just change their behavior and do it in such a way that is legal. And then
But it's essentially keeping it illegal and regulating some small carve outs where you could do it. But
I would argue the
overall-
opposite. I would argue the opposite, that it is legalizing it and saying certain instances where you can't do it.
But if those certain instances are the vast majority of what's going to be done, because the majority of prostitutes are still going to do it illegally.
Okay, so then
Then-
then drinking alcohol is illegal. The overwhelming majority of places that you can drink alcohol, it is illegal
The vast majority of
because you're in
people who
public.
drink alcohol do it legally.
That's okay.
But
Again,
prostitution would not work out the same way, which is what we see in Nevada, where
How do
they
you know
have
that?
legal broth.
but they don't have. But
Thank-
they don't. They're
I'm
not.
telling you right
Again,
now.
that's what I'm saying. That's not. I'm not saying let's just do Vegas. That's a straw man of what I'm saying. I'm saying they are.
giving you
That's a half
real
measure.
I'm giving you a real life example that we can look at. We have legalized counties in Vegas, but the majority of people still do it illegally in Vegas. Or we have legalized counties in Nevada, but the majority of prostitutes in Nevada are still doing it illegally on the strip. So that's a clear-cut example that we can look at of where we're trying this experiment, and it doesn't have good outcomes. So
Yeah, that's why I shouldn't do it like that. It's almost like I'm proposing something completely different than what you're dogging.
you've got to propose that we legalize the streetwalkers and the. I want to go to open panel and I got to go to the bathroom.
All right. Yeah.
I do too. I need some more.
No worries.
some more
Yeah.
drink.
So okay, that right there will wrap up the audience Q&A portion. Again, huge thanks to everybody showing support through super chats and even just asking questions. All of the engagement, all the support helps keeps this show going and make these debates possible. Okay, and big respect to both debaters stepping into the arena tonight. Okay, like I always say, whether you agreed or disagreed, it takes more than you know to come up here, hold your ground, test the ideas, and do it all in front of an audience. So make sure you go find both debaters in the description and sub up to them both, show them both support, and they're both streaming right now too. So go hit the like and sub over there on their streams. So what we're about to do, we're gonna roll the debate outro. This runs about 3 minutes. That'll give the debaters, chat, myself, quick breather, go use the washroom, get a drink, all of that. Then we're going to open up for the Chaos and Chill panel. During the outro, I'll drop the link to join the panel in the chat. Anyone's welcome to come up, share your take, ask questions, challenge what you've heard. But heads up for everyone. If you're joining the panel, it's not for drama, trolling, spurging over everyone. If you come up doing that shit, you'll get muted and then probably booted real quick, okay? So let's just keep it real. So stick around. Once these swords go down, the chaos is going to begin. All right, so again, thank you for watching the Swords of Reason on the Speak Easy show, where logic meets passion. And if you enjoyed what you watched tonight, make sure you hit the like and subscribe here as well. With that, we're going to roll the outro, and we'll see you all in just a few minutes.
Step into the circle where the echoes collide. Truth through the static, no place to hide. Iron tongue, sharpen fire in our breath. We dance with conviction on the edge of death. Your words are bullets, mine are storms. Ideas forged where lightning forms. No retreat, no treason. We clash our swords of reason. Cut through lies with steel precision. No faith, no fear, just raw collision. We clash our swords of reason. Facts burn brighter than a prophet's flame. Egos crumble, but the truth remains. Every scar, a mark of thought's crusade. In the battlefield of minds we've made. Speak your truth, but bear the cost. Every claim can still get lost in the war of voice and vision. Feel the friction. We clash our swords of reason. No silence left for indecision. Ideas break with loud precision. We clash our swords of reason. Strike me with logic, I'll bleed by proof. We cut through chaos to carve out truth. Let the sparks fly, let the echo scream. This is no debate, it's a metal dream. We clash our swords of reason. In the storm of thought collision. Forged in fire, pure precision. We clash our swords of reason. Reason bleeds but never dies. No surrender, no retreat. In the war of words, we find our beat. Swords of reason. Oh.
And we're back.
Is that music copyrighted?
Was Greg.
What's that?
Is that music copyrighted?
No. That's
Oh.
mine. I made that with an AI song.
Or okay, so next time we won't have to mute it. What's up, Terry Yak?
You. So great debate, fellas. Like I said, I was kind of split. I voted with the chat always wins. I'm not gonna lie, I pussied out. I voted with the chat. But yeah, JS, very impressed with the opening. Loved the energy, especially with the whole STD thing. I liked what you were doing there, putting like the gonorrhea imagery in their heads and all this kind of stuff, and then ending it with the like your daughter, bro. That was like a very nice silver bullet there, eloquent finish. But the problem for you, I think, was that like Indian Jesus was able to kind of like take what you were trying to get at and then just kind of judo flip you essentially. You know what I mean? So basically, the way they do this is they give you that long answer, and you're like, "What the fuck's he even talking about the stage?" And then he ends it with a question, and then all of a sudden you're sucked in, and then you're answering his questions. So like that just be one thing to point back to that. And one thing that like I didn't say in chat, but I was screaming for you to say it, is when IG was saying, "Yeah, she has her own agency. That's why it's not like necrophilia. It's her body, her choice." Okay, your next question should have been, okay, should she be able to sell herself into slavery then? Should she have the freedom to be able to sell her body into slavery?
I mean,
And if
he's
you are,
arguing.
then you are. And if
He's
he is,
arguing
then
for
he's
that.
then a libertarian whose logic is then saying that he should legalize slavery as well. He has to make the same argument. So as a libertarian, he'd be forced into the dynamic of he is to now say that they should legalize slavery, which is like the antithesis to libertarianism.
I mean, to be
Yeah.
clear, I don't consider myself a capital L libertarian. I'm more post-liberal MAGA,
Mhm.
really. But yes, I was coming from the libertarian perspective, and I
you
would
kept-
have said yes. You could be you are able to sell yourself into slavery.
Yeah, you're
Buddy.
Bernie bro, but you're slowly coming back into the fall. I know.
I haven't been a Bernie bro in 10 years, bro.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, no. That's what I'm saying. We all had that past. We all have a past, okay? Even the fellas too, okay? We all have a past, but then you're slowly coming in. You know what I'm saying?
Fellas.
Slowly coming in.
What does even the fellas mean?
Everybody's got a past. You know what I'm saying? There's always something shady or something like that. Do you know what I mean?
I'm just fucking with you.
But like that would actually be an argument why I would keep it illegal, because like when you look at the dynamic of like the with prostitutes, all this kind of shit, like as the police or like CIA more so, like being able to have like a batch of beautiful women that like you could literally hold any charge against them over their heads, and then being able to use that as, for example, like confidential informants or like spies, all this kind of shit as well, because no one ever suspects the woman's been listening in, all this kind of shit. So that would be an argument for keeping it illegal, but it's still being like it's still undergoing because people always break the law, kind of thing.
Yeah, these libertarian debates are tough for me. I mean, I like doing more like theological debates and stuff, but I like these ones because I do have strong beliefs on this stuff, and so it's helping me learn how to combat the ideas. And I know I'm good at writing openings, and then I usually kind of start to lose gas as it goes on.
I'm the opposite.
And yeah, see,
Let's
yeah,
get
that's
some blood
Same.
sport.
but I was trying to do like the Andrew technique where you show you do the internal critique and you say, okay, here's why I believe this as a utilitarian. Why do you believe it as a utilitarian? And then when you poke holes and you find inconsistencies in mine, I can find those same inconsistencies in yours. And so it seems like it's not a consistent worldview. It seems like we need something more than that. And then once you start going into Christian ethics and stuff, I think you were making my point for me.
Well, where I thought that, I mean, people are saying you're like Crucible adjacent. Is that accurate, or I don't know.
I'm not like connected. I've been watching them since it started, but and I'm not Orthodox, but
Okay.
but I'm
Yeah, so I expect
Christian, and I agree with 99% of what all those guys say.
I'm an atheist. I agree with most of what he says, but yeah. So I thought you were going to come in with the objective morality. God says it's wrong. That we have Christian ethics. Well, what can you, as a secularist, revert to? And I, again, going back to when I was debating Andrew on the modern day debate thing, I was trying to get there. He had the advantage of like, oh, we're just sticking to the prompt. But the notion that, they're always talking about my preferences. Well, until you prove that your religion is true and correct, that those are just your preferences. And hey, they're good preferences. No, I know, but
You can do
I'm
it.
saying,
You can do it from a
no,
secularist
no,
point
I'm
of
saying,
view.
wait. I'm saying I thought we were going to go down that road, and that's what I would have said if we had gone down.
Yeah, but then that would have turned into a whole God ain't real though debate. That would have been, and
Yeah.
I don't want to get into that.
I don't think you want to get into that.
Even if
Well, no,
we
that-
were secular and we could show that Christian ethics has better outcomes for societies, and Christian ethics would support having law and order and having law enforcement and having laws and crimes and punishing people for doing wrong, then what's the problem? If that seems to work for a burgeoning society and for societies that do more for the world and are better for the world, is having those laws more so than anarchy and just everybody just do what they want to do.
But the one way that, like I said, like he was able to use that to flip that against you is like as soon as you start mentioning God, he then can turn it into a God debate, and like that's a way of how he's able to judo flip you away from it. But what even as a secularist you can point towards, for example, demoralization as an objective phenomenon. So the whole like that's how you get around the whole like objective morality thing. And you did point that out as well, especially in your closing. You mentioned like the demoralization of the society. So it's like that's an objective thing you can point towards where it's like you look at all these women, they ain't doing too well when they get into the later years. Like I'm
But if you're
about
talking to an
major mental
atheist who
problems.
believes in subjective morality,
I don't.
That's why you point to one sec. That's why you point to demoralization. That's an objective phenomenon that even the military uses to get the enemy to submit quicker.
How is, if you believe that it's moral to engage, which he doesn't, but let's say somebody does believe it's moral to engage in prostitution, and I say you're demoralizing society, they say no, it's going to be great for society. These young men are incels; they need to have some sex. Like,
yeah, but like that's when you bring up like the whole DSM-5, like any prostitutes or sex workers late term, like when they get into the older ages, it does not look pretty.
Yeah.
It ends very dark. You know what I mean? So it's like that's the whole thing that you point towards, where it's like this kind of behavior where they lose meaning, they lose the will to live. That points towards demoralization. Same thing we can post like PTSD, like certain soldiers, they see certain shit or they do certain shit and they ain't the same person and they lose meaning and then et cetera kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? So that's how you kind of tie it towards that. And that and the reason why you do it that way is that like you avoid having to mention the God thing, so he can't then try to flip you and try and turn into a theological discussion when you try and talk about prostitution.
yeah, were you on the panel the other night when we were talking to Dark Cat about this all night?
No, I don't think it was.
Well, I was doing debate prep and she came on, and she's one of these ladies, and she's either lying or she's a crazy outlier, because she was talking about how she doesn't have any addiction problems, she doesn't have any mental health issues because of it. She loves it. She thinks it's great. She makes a lot of money, but overall, I've known a lot of these girls and I've been involved in this type of stuff. I'm not justifying it. I'm not flexing. I think it was bad. I was a piece of shit, but most of them are not having a good time with life. They're mentally screwed up. They're on drugs, and it's not good.
Yeah, like you point to that as an outlier being like there are psychopaths, like there's always going to be exceptions, etc. But when you look at the generalization and where you look at the majority, it's clear the impact this has. But yeah, sorry, go ahead, IG.
No, I mean,
Okay, so-
I'm just saying, to be clear, I do think that it is a bad thing. But going back to the whole thing is that I shouldn't be the arbiter of I solely shouldn't be the arbiter of morality. And so I'm putting out this idea that if I believe I'm correct, and so other people will hop on it on a legal thing. But JS is also correct about the moral aspect. And maybe it's a little bit pie in the sky, maybe a little bit naive, but I think those two things together.
Just to make this distinction clear, when you're talking about like the morality and I feel this way or I feel that way, like what I'm pointing towards is the demoralization, which is an objective thing where it's like these bitches literally lose the will to live. Like they lose, like, and when you can like check into DSM of how they check this, they have like standard things in terms of that, and like in terms of like the numbers as well. You can check the military numbers in terms of how many people will defect. Like, and they do like weird shit, like blasting like music into the like if they're near the camp and all this kind of shit. But like that's like an objective thing that I can point towards, that like irregardless of God or whatever your religion is or whatever, you can actually chart and measure how this is negatively impacting their will to live. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I
But
again,
like that goes above, that transcends subjectiveness, that transcends feelings. It's like this is an
Right.
objective phenomenon that we're seeing.
sure, but I don't think that because you choose to do something that can be harmful. I mean, people, you could die jumping out of a plane, but I don't think we should make skydiving illegal. And there's all these other instances of the principle that's being laid out for whether it's harm or degeneracy or this or that. All of these other things that fall in line, and maybe JS specifically as a prohibitionist is like, yeah, just fucking ban it all. Fair enough, but I don't think most people think like that. And
But like that's what I was saying. Like the counter then would be they had to bring up the slavery thing and such. Judge someone be able to sell themselves into slavery, and then you're basically libertarian arguing that you should legalize slavery, and then from there you're able to say that's the conflict in terms of your worldview. So your position is basically flawed.
But I'm more of a utilitarian than I am a libertarian. So it's mostly about the utility, but we have to check the individual liberty first. So the first thing is, okay, what is the most utilitarian or what is the best utilitarian solution? And then we go to, okay, can we do that without infringing on individual rights? If not, we need to go to the next best question.
Oh, I forgot to bring that up. Which part of the Constitution talks about being able to pay for blowjobs?
Did I claim that?
I was going to say that at some point.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure that there's absolutely nothing about blowjobs in the Constitution. And
so when you say human rights, what do you mean? Where do those come from?
Did I say human rights?
You did. You just said if it violates our rights.
Oh.
What do you mean our rights in general?
Yeah, you don't have a right to sell pussy.
Why not? What do you mean? Why not?
Because with the same argument that you'd be putting forward, it's like, oh, then you have a right to sell yourself into slavery. So then we have to make.
Yeah, I already agree with that.
I think
you do. I think you do have a right to.
Yeah,
I don't think it.
Yeah.
So
He said
again,
if you signed off before you die, you could sell yourself into cannibalism.
Yeah, and so practically that wouldn't work out because nobody is going to be the slaver. Because of the culture. Nobody wants to be a slaver. That wasn't always the case now, was it?
It's an argument of incongruity. Just saying it's like, oh, that will never happen. It's like slavery was a thing in the past. Slavery still is a thing. And even with the sex slave, all this kind of shit, once you factor that in. But like in terms of like this whole aspect, like people will get poor enough to the point where it's like a father, let's say, would sell himself into slavery just so his family can afford to eat.
Yeah.
They are essentially selling themselves into sex slavery. Like... Yeah, they're free to leave, but are they really free to leave if they're going to lose their house, they're going to lose their income? And
okay, but that's the case for any job, though, dude. Are
you
really free to leave your job if you can't afford? Like what? That's my.
But there's
you have personal feelings about this particular exchange, but it is at the end of the day when you break it all down, it is just two consenting adults making a trade that they consent to.
When I do a risky job,
wait, can you again? I sorry, it's a pet peeve when people kind of just blow by.
You know,
can you acknowledge? Do you agree? Do you disagree?
Yeah, you say yes, but also the same way in slavery as well.
What's the same thing in slavery?
Like this whole aspect of like you don't like the fact that it's two consenting adults. It's the same way in the slavery when you're selling yourself into slavery, it's two consenting adults like signing a contract, a slavery contract.
Yep, that's why I'm okay with
the
same
thing. I also wasn't blowing by anything. I was addressing what you said before you asked your question. So you were talking about jobs and selling yourself into a job. You're doing a dangerous job. You're comparing that to selling yourself into prostitution.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to get mental illness and STDs and stuff. You could hurt your back, you could hurt your foot, but there's a sense of pride when a man does a dangerous job and he walks away and he says, I helped build that building. It's fulfilling to men to do that. It's not fulfilling to women to sell their body for sex.
It's fulfilling to get money. Is it fulfilling to spend 12 hours on an oil rig?
Or you profit the whole world, but you lose your soul. A man who builds a building is making money, but he's also has a sense of accomplishment. He has a sense that he did something that was helpful to society and he helped create something.
Okay, so that just makes it a better activity than engaging in prostitution. That doesn't mean that because there are things better than this, it should be illegal.
Right, but I would say the one is, yeah, the hard job might be detrimental on your body, but the benefits would outweigh that. The life of accomplishment and doing something worthwhile and valuable versus the woman who sells her body. Yes, she's making money, but she's losing part of her soul. There's been pair bonding. There's been studies done into this too, where like women make like an emotional connection when they have sex with men. And if you're selling yourself into prostitution, they become hollow shells because they have to totally detach from that part of their nature.
Okay, but then we go back to if there are other things that detach you from reality and nature, then it should be illegal. So, if you wouldn't mind, there's two closely related questions, kind of on this from my chat. So, it's a two-part question. So, is it the sex that's bad, or is it the money that's bad? And then the part two is, would you agree that sodomy should be illegal? So, the first part is sex or money. Second part is, should sodomy be illegal?
If I was king. Okay, so is it the sex that's sex out of wedlock bad? So yes, the sex with random strangers who are paying you for that sex is bad. Money is not bad, but the love of money is bad. So if your love of money leads you to harm yourself and others by doing an activity that is harmful, then yes, that's bad. But the money itself is not what's bad. It's the love of the money. And then what I'd make if I was king.
But what if you? Sorry, go ahead.
If I was king, oh man, because this sucks because like oral is sodomy. So
Oral is sodomy?
What?
it is. I would make sodomy illegal.
Haram.
Fair enough. But wait, I have that.
Haram!
There we go. So going back to the first part, so if you're saying it's not the sex that's bad, it's not the money that's bad, it's the love for money. In the same way, we're going back to the oral rig. The guy is not there because he has a love for money. He has a need for money. And there are many safer, less harmful ways that he could make that money. And so again, I come back to the same question as how is prostitution different? Is consenting to potential harm for the exchange of money.
Demoralization, comrade.
So, okay, but then we have to go back, and anything that is demoralizing to society should be illegal. I'm trying to look for a standard. Yeah. What is the standard? Yeah. This should be illegal because X. Mm-hmm. And then if we apply that to everything, then you say this should be illegal because X, then anything that is X should be illegal. So every time you bring up a potential X, I bring up something that fits X, but you don't want to make that illegal.
Yeah, so like we're talking like demoralization, like it's actually clinically proven by studies that it's like I can read off some of the things here, but it's like the statistics clearly show that it's like PTSD is like hardened combat veterans, all this kind of shit. You know what I mean? Like suicidal ideation, 90% are feeling trapped, but they can't escape, kind of thing. It's like this is all like negative, like health impacts, like mental health impacts. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I don't disagree.
Whereas it's rewarding. Yeah, this is what I said already. It's rewarding for the man to do the tough, hard job and have a sense of accomplishment and also be making money while he's doing it.
I mean, I'm just saying, if y'all never met a girl who just loves sucking dick, I feel bad for you. Like they love that shit. And so it's like, again, if we're talking about something that is but how do you feel about tattoos?
I mean, Jeffrey Dahmer loved murdering and eating people, but anyway, how do I feel about tattoos?
Yeah, how do you feel about tattoos? Because
I have
that I can use a different.
I have some.
Okay, yeah. So
I don't think they're as serious as like some Christians make them out to be.
Fair enough. But I'm just again trying to say, like, we have other areas where there is harm that you can consent to, and nobody is saying that because it's harmful and because there's it could potentially demoralize things that we should make it illegal. That to me seems un-American.
Just having laws against certain things why is that un-American?
because this country is founded on the libertarian freedom. And if you are consenting to something, whether it has the harm or not, then who is the government to tell you you can't do what you want just because we don't like it?
But see,
Not
this is
hurting
the whole
anybody.
thing with the libertarian freedom thing, and then we go back to the America fought a war to free the slaves, and then you being saying that like your logic would necessarily entail that you think that slavery should be legal, which would then be
I never said
anti-American.
slavery. So this is why this is a non sequitur, because the slavery inherently is not slavery inherently means that you're not consenting. So I'm answering the question
No,
in the
it doesn't.
context, but you can't choose to be a slave. Then you're just a worker. You might have a shitty job, but if you choose to do it, then you're just a
It's
worker.
interesting to bring that up, and the whole like debt slavery or wage slavery, all this kind of shit. But in terms of this aspect, like there was plenty of like slaves that like sold themselves into slavery.
And
Throughout
also
history.
the slave could run away. There would be consequences to it. Just like I could quit my job, but there would be consequences to it.
Right.
So I'm essentially a slave to my landlord. I'm a slave to my job. I'm a slave.
So then it's no big deal to be a slave.
I'm a
'cause
wage
we're all
slave.
slaves.
I'm
We're
a
wage
slave.
slaves. We're slaves to our landlords. We're all slaves. so what's the big deal?
I agree.
There's
How does
laws
that
specifically
break
against-
anything
yeah.
that I've said? If we're admitting that anything that you owe anyone else is slavery, well then yeah, I mean, I got more.
Well, this is more a question for Teriak because
because the mere fact that slavery is illegal means that like when you get this company job, Joe, when we're all like like late teens getting into the workforce, we're all eager to sign that contract. This company just puts into the end of the contract, oh, and by the way, you're also accepting that you're a slave, and then you sign that shit, and well, you sign the contract. Because who reads the terms and conditions? That's what I'm saying. Like, this is why we have laws to protect against these shit.
They're there.
Yeah.
Like the fact that none of us read it doesn't mean that the
but,
terms,
like,
the terms
to
and conditions.
go back,
like, that's a bad choice that we're all making.
I got you. But like my thing, the reason why I'm going down this route is because you brought up the facts like, oh, because it'd be un-American, because American is founded on these libertarian principles. But something that's like literally the opposite of libertarian is this idea of like slavery. So it's like the like that'd be one thing that's like prohibited in terms of a libertarian's point of view.
Do you? So let me give it a parallel, and you tell me if you accept this. That like communism is bad. We should have a capitalistic system. But if people decide to buy a huge plot of land and have a commune on that land, they should be allowed to do with that land what they want. And if they want to be communists within that community, they should be allowed to do that. Do you agree?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think I'm. It's not a one-to-one, but I'm showing how just because there is a contradiction between the smaller group and the bigger group doesn't mean that they're in conflict.
There would still be over.
So one second, let me tie this back real quick. So it's like the reason that, like, if they brought that plot of land, they can all be communists. More power to them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And even ironically, I think that capitalism will actually eventually bring us into communism, like actual like abundancy, communism, all this kind of shit. But that's a completely different discussion.
But they can't grow a poppy field and start producing heroin.
But exactly, they can't, for example, turn that like plot of land into Jeffrey Epstein. They have to abide by the laws. And when you were asking for legal precedent earlier, currently the law is that slavery is illegal, and this whole concept of my body, my choice, my agency is the same principle where you're selling your pussy or you're selling your body. So you're like basically selling yourself into slavery. So the whole legal principle is technically in JS's favor here.
Because of specifically because it's slavery?
Hold up real quick. I see we got someone in the back. If you could just throw your cam on quick, give me a peace sign, and then you can turn it off to come up. Oh, sorry. I seen. Yeah, just okay. Yeah. All right, no problem.
Yeah, so like legal precedent would be the reason we're bringing up this.
May I introduce myself? You're talking about slavery. I just see the topic and find it very interesting.
The topic is prostitution.
Prostitution is dirty, I think.
Me too. But dirty things shouldn't necessarily be illegal.
Well, why else would you govern them? How else would you bring these people to court?
Well, you wouldn't bring them to court because it would be legalized, and so you would prevent the degeneracy by other laws that we have, like you can't RPA, you can't murder, you can't do these things, you can't steal. Like those
Where
laws
I
already
come from-
exist.
Where I come from, we respect our women, but we do not have prostitution because prostitution is you get these diseases.
That's what. Yeah, I've never been to a prostitute. I don't plan
Yeah,
on doing it
coolies.
ever. But again, my preference is not the arbiter of what the U.S. law should be. I mean,
But
unless
you-
you disagree, do I get to decide all of the laws in America just based on what I like?
I mean, your
I would
preference
like to
for
think not, my
personal
friend,
freedom
but I-
is.
Okay,
I
but
mean-
is that just because it's my personal preference solely, or do I have a personal preference and most other people also have a personal preference for freedom?
I agree you have a responsibility to your own beliefs, but I think that as a whole you have to come together a little bit more of your Westernness, I believe.
We have to what?
Your Western beliefs, I don't think you stick together as much as you should brotherhood.
Western beliefs, we don't stick together.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
What do
I
you
agree.
like? What do you like?
we-
An Irish Muslim?
we all look at the
Scottish?
government too much, and we don't stick together. We're just whatever the government says, I'll go with that. There's no reason to ever care about anything that is not the law. The government, daddy government, will tell me what to do.
But where I come from, I believe even if woman shows ankle, that is prostitution almost as bad as.
Ankles, baby. Oh,
I mean,
them ankles.
I would argue that OnlyFans and stripping and all that is prostitution.
Is it
Pornography.
okay if I address member of your
I don't know about showing an ankle, but
Yes, I have great granddad who was Scottish. I am.
that would be
Afghan.
the extreme reductio ad absurdum of what I'm
I have
saying.
no
Is
ginger in my beard, though, as you see, my friend. But what I see on these channels is I get called sand and hard R word a lot by you Western people, and I think it's not very fair because I am only trying to bring my Quran to you.
The Scottish accent's coming out, bro. You
I
need
know
to-
he's definitely
work on that
Scottish.
accent.
He's-
Oh, go ahead,
This
sir.
is
Number you're
Scottish that wear
talking.
the dresses and run around with swords, braveheart.
Aye.
That bum.
Anyway, hey, it's 9:10. I gotta head out, or 9:07. So
Tell everyone in
you,
the
my
chat
friend.
where they can find you, JS.
JS Urban Adventures. Go check it out, guys. I got all kinds of stuff up there. I stream on Friday and Saturday night, pretty much all night long, doing panels and stuff. Monday night, I do the dreaded conservative show, news and current events and stuff like that. And I drop videos occasionally. I go to protests. I'm going to be going to DebateCon, so hopefully we'll get a couple like
May
vlog
Allah
style
fill your
videos.
scrotum with plenty of manhood
Okay.
when you go to your
All right,
next.
hold up, bro. Let him do his outro.
Yeah, I'll be at DebateCon. I'll make some videos from there. That should be cool. So go subscribe.
Word.
Yeah, thank you for the debate. That was fun. Lunch.
Sure.
And thank you, Easy, for putting it
Dilly
together.
dilly, man.
May your goat have lots of milk.
Good chat. Good
May
chat.
my goat have lots of milk. All right. See you guys.
Take it
How do I-
easy, bro.
take it
I'm just
easy,
gonna keep
GS.
it here.
All right. Trying to figure out how to get out.
Just leave. No, yeah.
So I was telling wife number 3 earlier on tonight as she carved up my carcass for my meal tonight. And I say, wife number 3, why can't you treat me as good as wife number 2? I don't understand these. Why do they complain so much, these women? I really don't know. I have arranged.
Feminism, bro. That's it. Feminism.
I have
We've moved
arranged
from
marriage
like
with,
Iran to
ginger
Scotland now.
Have you ever heard of Ginger? They call a ginger woman.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Very feisty in the bedroom, I hear, my good Western ally. But to be honest, 5 wives, you think you have it easy. It is not very easy. I only have
I do
3
not think that at all.
I have 3 caves and 5 wives. You just have to do the math. It's an
Why no talk you lying? Why you always lying? Oh my God, you making it hard for me.
It's like Fat Bastard is on the panel. You know what I'm saying?
I am actually quite thin for my size, my friend. It's eating
5
goat.
wives.
I have to eat cabbage and goat.
Man, if you got 5 wives, remind me to write he fought the good fight on your tombstone.
Well, they tell me I have virgins
Ain't that
waiting
the
on me.
truth?
Why would I want virgins? I would want experienced women. Wouldn't that make sense? I mean, within 30 virgins, I'll be identical.
There we go.
Really. I mean,
Inshallah.
if
So
I
you're
have
of the
30
Islamic faith by the writing behind you, is that
if
correct?
I am
Maybe.
martyr and I get 30 virgins and I have to really teach 30 women how to have sex, and I really don't have the time for this.
Sure.
Maybe
Cool.
That makes
Cool,
sense.
bro.
you of the
I wish I
Islamic faith.
one day could be as cool as you.
You can keep trying, my Western ally.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Anyway.
So
Yeah,
back
just
to
remember,
anything to say
IJ.
about the topic,
Do you-
IJ,
or
do you
you
agree
just
with
you
male
have